Good evening and buenas noches, everyone. Before we get started, we have a special announcement from our district translator.
Thank you, President López. Buenas tardes, habla Paula Balbuena. Si necesita servicios de interpretación al español, por favor llame al 1805-324-7680 e ingrese el código de acceso 831-384-164 más la tecla numeral. Este es un número totalmente gratis. Nuevamente, llame al número de teléfono 1805-324-7680 e ingrese el código de acceso 831-384-164 más la tecla numeral. También puede acceder a estas instrucciones en nuestro sitio web en mcs4kids.com, dirigiéndose a la parte inferior de la página, haciendo clic en Click Links y haciendo clic nuevamente en Board Agendas para la agenda de esta noche. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Once again, welcome to the Modesto City Schools 1486 regular board meeting of December 12th, 2022. This meeting is now called to order. In closed session, board gave direction to legal counsel. I will now conduct roll call. Student Board Rep Patel,
Here.
Trustee Irvin,
Present.
Trustee Daly,
Present.
Trustee Maestas,
Present.
Trustee Marks,
Present.
Trustee Mejia,
Present.
Vice President Brown,
I'm here.
President Lopez, present as well. Everyone, please stand and join me for a moment of silence. Thank you very much. This open meeting of the Board of Trustees is being live streamed at the direction of the board. The live stream is available on the district website, and the recordings will be available for viewing the day after the board meeting. Modesto City Schools meetings have been adjusted to follow health and safety precautions until further notice. MCS has also provided an opportunity to provide comments from the public. Is outlining on the agenda. The public has been given the opportunity to call or leave a voicemail and send us a comment via email or appear in person. Any public comment received via email or voicemail following the posting of the board agenda and prior to noon the day of the board meeting will not be read out loud, but have been transcribed, and printed copies will be provided to each board member as well. They're available for you out in the lobby before the start of the meeting. The voice and email comments will be attached to future board meeting minutes for approval. This practice will continue until further notice. For members of the public that are interested in commenting in the future, we welcome your comments. And if you're joining us tonight and you want to talk during the period for public comment on a subject that is not on the agenda, you must complete a public presentation request form or card, just like this. And it must be completed and submitted to the board president, EI given to Antoinette in the back before the start of the public comment. Every person that wished to address the board, please fill out the card, put your name, the reason for you coming to speak this evening, and if you need any translation provided to you, please indicate on the card. Please do that right now, as when we get started with the public comments, we will not accept any more cards. Each member that's going to speak tonight has 3 minutes for a total of 30 minutes. And we want to remind you that if you wish to make a complaint against a specific district employee, you should follow district's personnel's complaint procedures. Copies of those procedures are also available in the lobby, as are the agendas with copies that outline the procedures we will observe during the period for public comment. The right to address the board does not exempt the speaker from any potential liability for defamation. With that, I'd like to welcome 2 students from Franklin Elementary, which will lead us in the flag salute this evening. Our first student, I'll ask them to stand up when I say their names, is Roxana Maldonado. Third grader Roxana is academically high-performing student, earning more than 10 swag tags for academic achievement this year. She's a model peace builder by helping others when needed. Roxana is always kind, respectful, humble, and eager to learn. She likes painting and spending time with her family. Following graduation, Roxana wants to attend Stanford University and aspires to be a veterinarian. Welcome. Joining us this evening is also Karina Wright. Sixth grader Karina is an outstanding student and is academically at the top of her class. She recently placed second in the Modesto City Schools District Spelling Bee. Karina is a member of Student Council. She enjoys playing the flute in the school band and performing in chorus. Following graduation, Karina wants to attend Yale and aspire to be a journalist or an FBI agent. Wow. Roxana and Karina, please lead us in the flag salute. And everyone, please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. So with that, we'll be moving to Superintendent Noguchi's welcome and announcements. Welcome, Dr. Noguchi.
Thank you. Thank you, President Lopez. And welcome to everyone that is here tonight, and also those that are at home, comfy on your couches. I want to first start by welcoming our newest school board member, Jolene Daly. Speaking on behalf of the board, we are absolutely thrilled to have you join this incredible team. We look forward to learning from you and learning with you as we all work to serve the students in the school district and also the parents. So welcome. Next, I would like to take a moment and thank the voters of Modesto for voting yes on Measure L. We are very pleased at the results, and we want to thank our local partners, our community partners, MTA, and everyone who supported us through this very long process. It's really a year-long process, so thank you for that. Without your partnership, we wouldn't be here tonight. I wouldn't be speaking on behalf of the good things that are going to happen for kids, so thank you. This is a huge win for our high school students and our community. Measure L, well, the funds for Measure L will not only fund expanding our career technical education, but also improving our science labs, leaky roofs, and much, much more. We do recognize that a large portion of our community did not support Measure L, so we all are going to work very hard at gaining their confidence and showing them how Measure L will, in fact, improve the conditions not only for our kids, our students, but also for our community at large. Lastly, as we go into winter break, I want to take some time, as we take time for family and friends, I want to acknowledge the board for all their support, continuing to support me in the work that I do. I couldn't do it if it wasn't for this strong board, so thank you. Also, my team, all the administrators at the district office, the site, the teachers, all the support staff, of course, all of the students. We've all done an amazing job, and we've really worked hard the first half of this year. And I'm always amazed at the incredible determination of everyone that I come in front of we all work to improve the conditions for our kids. So thank the board. I've always said it takes a strong governance team, all the way down to the classroom to be able to make and ensure we have the right conditions for our kids. So thank you for that. Enjoy your time off. Make sure you find some time for yourself in addition to your family and friends, but self-time is also a good thing to have. So make sure you find some time for that. And happy holidays. And I'll turn it over to President Lopez.
Sorry about that. Thank you very much. This will take us to the Board of Education members report. Do I have lights or names actually now? I have a hunch that we're going to be talking about CSBA a lot today. So we'll have Trustee Mejia start us off. I go first.
Well, first of all, like always, it was great being able to spend some time with our board, continue to build relationships, get to know, attend a lot of workshops. I do want to give a shout out to our team that presented about sustainability. It was incredible. One of our board members as well presented with the team, so it's just incredible the work that we've been doing. So I know. It seems like, oh, what? But when we were at that state conference and presenting, I was feeling proud. I was like, like chest up, stuff like that. But it was just really awesome to see all the work and how it's going to play out in the next few years. So that was pretty incredible, pretty awesome. So I just wanted to share how excited I was to be part of that, listening to that, but also being able to learn, share and deepen the understanding. And also we got to also see other board members, other districts that are nearby. It's always great because we're in the same county, and it's very important that we build relationships with others as well. So I'm just very thankful and grateful to be participating in that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Marks.
Thank you, President Lopez. I just want to say, first off, because this is our first meeting after the election was certified, that I just appreciate the voters for entrusting me with 4 more years. And I look forward to working with Jolene Daly as our new trustee in the next few years too. So I look forward to that. And thankfully, we had 2 others that got back on that without Trustee Lopez and Trustee Brown. So great to have a great team and continue on. So just a couple of things was, yes, agreed with Trustee Mejia. What a great workshop we had at CSBA and conference to be able to learn some more, expand our skills and our knowledge. And I just wanted to say, I went to a couple of workshops on equity, and then our speaker, Brandon Fleming, or one of the speakers, was on his book called Uneducated. And I loved his testimony because he let us know how important it was to have people listen to you. He didn't feel that he was listened to for pretty much his whole life. And then a teacher finally stopped him and said, I want to hear the rest of your story. What's your story? And when he was able to share his story, that's when his life started to change. He started, his teacher encouraged him to go back and learn some things that he missed out because of the way his life was. So I was so touched and moved by him. And his statement was to love first. We all have a moral responsibility, and teach second and legislate after that. But it was love first. So because that one person, just one person, I mean, he was ready to end his life at one point, and one person took the time to listen to him. So that was really powerful. He was a powerful speaker. So that will always stick with us. So, and then lastly, I just wanted to say I attended the SAPFA meeting, the Salida Area Public Facilities Financing Agency, which is a Melrose that collects the taxes from the homeowners to be able to do all that we need to do. And there's 3 entities on that board in Salida. It's the Salida Sanitation Department, the Salida Fire Department, and the Salida Elementary School District, and the Modesto City Schools. And we share the taxes that come in to be able to build the schools, build the roads, help support our schools that are in that area. Well, I asked that night to see if we could end this tax sooner for the taxpayers, and we cannot. So I was hopeful that we might be able to do it, but because of some of the stuff that I can't believe this. So just to tell you, I said, this is how some things work. They don't work well. But to stop doing a tax, we have to pay to do it. I said, you got to be kidding. To end this, we have to pay. So every homeowner we have to pay for every homeowner $100 per home to end the tax. So that costs quite a lot because there's thousands of homes out there that are paying the tax. So anyway, I'm just looking forward to seeing those homeowners be finished off with these 25 or 20 some odd years that they've been helping us and working hard. And so I appreciated that, but found out couldn't quite do it this year. So, or in the next few years. That tax ends in 2028. So we just have a few more years on it. So that's my report, but thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice President Brown.
Like everyone else, I'm really grateful for the opportunity that we had to attend the CSBA conference. And once again, so proud of our presenters. We have had presentations from Modesto City Schools at the CSBA conference 2 years in a row now. And we have really been noticed for some of the great things that are happening within our district. And it's great to be able to share. You know, it's not a brag session. It's a share and help and show other districts what we've been able to accomplish and then help them do the same. So it's really fun to be in that position. And thank you, Tim and team, for all that you did. And Abel, your presentation was really helpful to sew up the details and really show things from a board perspective, and appreciate you doing that. Also, you've heard me since the thought of a bond. I'm the facilities guy, and I'm the one who is going to be pushing hard to make sure that we have equity on our campuses. And I want you to know how hard the team worked to make sure that we could bring opportunities to our students through improvement on their campuses. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And I can't wait for the stories that we can tell as we show what we're able to do with the money that the public has entrusted us with. So exciting things are yet to come, and I can't wait for the involvement of our community in the planning process as we really take advantage now of, you know, there's never a better time to start projects than when the economy is struggling, because we're able to provide work for people that wouldn't have it otherwise, and we can get beneficial pricing on most everything we do because there are fewer construction projects happening right now. So the timing is right, and we can't thank the public enough for all the support. Also, there's an important person who's not with us tonight who I'd like to recognize. I want to extend my gratitude to Charlene West. Dr. West has been a fabulous member of this board and a good friend. I knew Dr. West when we both served together in different roles at Sylvan School District before coming here. Charlene is a great person, and I know she will continue to do great things within our community. And just let her know that we miss her. But also, Jolene, we're very happy to have you with us. And I would like to take the chance to introduce someone who is with Jolene, someone who doesn't get much attention, and I want to remind us that she probably shouldn't because of the role she plays. But I'd like to introduce you to Brandy. Brandy is going to be an important part of our board because she'll be with us always. So, Jolene, do you feel comfortable showing people who Brandy is? So Brandy is a support animal, and as much as I love dogs, I want to just give her all kinds of attention, but I know that that's against the rule. So I'm gonna hold back and just appreciate the fact that she's here. And I thought it was important that everybody know that she's here with us. And with that, I'm going to let somebody else speak.
Thank you very much. Trustee Irvin?
Let me stand back a little because I have a tendency to talk loud already. I wanted to reiterate the colleagues about CSBA and the things that we learned in the networking opportunities. One of the main things I wanted to take back from there, in addition to had a very, very good workshop with the finances, understanding, finances for school board members and getting a bird's eye view of the inner workings of the finances. And another one was solar. I'm really, really big on solar and wind. Not the wind that just happened recently down here, but renewable energy, and they had a solar lab there at the conference, a mobile solar lab. And I thought, with now that the law is in California that all new homes constructed with solar panels to reduce the carbon footprint, that we should move in the direction where we have a solar program as part of our CTE or something, because that means jobs. Means jobs in our community, job prospects for our students, and solar installers, if they have that electrical part with them, make really good money. Down in California, Southern California, some of the top ones were making, $35 to $50 an hour, journey level. And so, and they had this residential electrical program that was combined with the solar. So I just think that we should look at something on a larger scale for solar and jobs opportunities for our students. Also, recently I went to the city swearing in, where I got to see our newest colleague, Jolene, with the city folks. But we were kind of in the shadows, it seemed like, with the city at the city hall over there, and then they turned it into a reflection, probably from the past 8 years before they got to the swearing in. And but it was a good deal to see the new community workers coming in and taking the oath of office to dedicate their lives pretty much to the community and for betterment of our community. And so it's always a good thing. Also, was at the Women's Auxiliary Ball this weekend, and saw a number of our students there. Also, the Women's Auxiliary gives out, over $100,000 in the years for scholarships to our students who attend Modesto City Schools. And so that's their annual biggest fundraiser, so it was nice to represent there and contribute to help provide scholarship opportunities to our students. And with that being said, that's it for me.
Thank you very much. Trustee Daly, welcome.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to say thank you to the voters for entrusting me in this position. I am going to be probably a little overwhelmed for the next 6 months to a year as I learn to work collaboratively with this team. Everybody has been really welcoming and open and supportive in that learning process. I hope to get out to the school sites within the next year, in the next few months. As winter break comes, we've got a little bit of a break to take that time. Like Dr. Noguchi said, I am actually a mental health provider, so it's really important to me that everybody make sure that they take care of themselves. And some of those things, mental health, working with parents, budgeting, those are the things that I'm concerned about and what I ran my platform on, and I hope to continue to have that confidence of the voters and working on the board here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Maestas.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everybody. I know this is our last week of school before a much-needed break for the students and the teachers and the staff and everybody, just to, get some of that mental health, that time to, just as what I have planned to veg and binge watch some shows, possibly on Netflix. After all the holiday preparations and stuff. I do have 3 kids to deal with the presents and everything for. I also want to talk a little bit about CSBA. I had the opportunity of being one of the presenters there on our electric bus initiative, and I was happy to do it, privileged to be there, but really the goal is to spread the word of what we do, what we're doing in our district, and becoming that destination district. And then I actually had one specific board member from another district come to me and say, when I first came here, I didn't really know much, and now you put it in perspective for me. I'm going to go back, I'm going to talk to my superintendent, and we're going to look at these electric buses and see if we can get them for our school. So that's all I needed, one, right, to make a change in small ways. So other things that I was excited to hear about was student voice and gathering more student voice from our schools, not just our high schools, but also our elementary schools and our junior highs. We had the students, I believe, from Lakewood come one time, and just to get their input. The session I went to, they even got input from kindergartners. And having a 9-year-old daughter, they can tell you what they think. So it'd be interesting to hear from them. And the other thing that I found fascinating was just a fiscal outlook for California and what we can expect coming down the road, especially with Prop 28 just being passed. And that's a huge win for those of you that don't know. Prop 28 was the arts and music proposition that's going to give us a lot of money towards and that's ongoing money towards our arts and music programs. A huge win for our arts and music programs. And that being said, I know that a lot of the bands have concerts. I got to go to the Enox jazz band concert and the band concert the following night. I took my sons with me, and we by the way, if you haven't seen Enox Jazz Band, they've got a guitarist. The kid loves to play guitar. It was just he just brought a smile to us watching him play. He loves it. And to see that much joy coming from school, it was beautiful. So we got to do that. I'm looking forward. Tomorrow I'm going to go to the Lakewood Band concert. Mostly his dad, but I'd like to go see my son play. And then I've got the CIFA and MS CIFA coming up on Wednesday. So that's my report.
Thank you very much. For my report, I was unable to go to CSBA. I was a little under the weather, so I appreciate all the photos that I got from our board members. What I was missing out. I was very fortunate to go to a health fair that was put on at Fairview Elementary last Friday, which was the 9th, I believe. Yes, the 9th. It was put on by our parent ambassadors, so I want to appreciate them for putting it on. It was nice seeing parents and children out there. Thank you to the community agencies that were out there as well, providing services and providing stuff for the community. So I really appreciate seeing that and showing a lot of the good work that the parent ambassadors have coming up for us. That's amazing. So with that, we'll be moving on to our next item, which is 8.8, which is our favorite part of the meetings, which is recognitions. Ms. Jackson, good evening.
Good evening, and thank you, President Lopez. So good evening, Board Trustees, Superintendent Dr. Noguchi, and our MCS families and community here tonight. Thank you so much for being here tonight at tonight's board meeting, our last meeting of the year as we gear up for the winter holiday season, which is exciting. So we appreciate you being here, and this is the special time where we get to acknowledge and show appreciation for the hard work, dedication, and innovation by our outstanding scholars, teachers, and staff. Before we get started, we do ask that our presenters tonight, that you come to read the when you come to read the nomination, you stand with your nominee in front of the podium here and face the audience so all of these beautiful faces can see you. After that time, you'll head over to the backdrop just behind me to have your photo taken by Linda. So tonight, we are celebrating two exceptional Kirshen Elementary scholars, second grade student Alejandra Toro Polito and fourth grade student Gael Toro Polito for the character trait compassion. Classroom teacher Mary Morato nominated Alejandra and will be providing an introduction in both Spanish and English for both Alejandra and her brother Gael. Thereafter, classroom teacher Alex Thompson will join to say a few additional words about her nominee, Gael. We'd also like to thank Principal Millie Jackson and our student families who are here tonight in celebration. So with that being said, Mary and your nominees.
Ok, antes de comenzar, me gustaría reconocer los papás de Alejandra y Gael. Su gran ejemplo de compasión, respeto, ha logrado que sus hijos no solamente son académicamente sobresalientes, pero también muestran compasión y respeto. So, could we clap for their parents, please? Alejandra sits next to a child from our Level 3 highly structured class, Autism, who is integrated into our general education classroom. She consistently provides support and kindly redirects him so that he experiences success in our general education classroom. In addition, when we have physical education with our friends who are also in the highly structured 3 class, she demonstrates patience, perseverance, and compassion towards her other play partners, encouraging them to stay on task and participate in our targeted play and PE activities. Even at this young age, Alejandra is acting as a role model of acceptance, respect, in addition to our character trait of compassion. So let's clap for Alejandra.
And at this time, we'll have Superintendent Dr. Noguchi and President Lopez come down to take a photo.
Parents, take a picture with you? Okay, why don't you come on up? I'll take a picture. It's fine.
And now at this time, we will have teacher Alex Tompkins come and provide the presentation for her nominee, Gael. Gael, why don't you come to the front?
I'm very proud to be presenting for Gael today. Gael shows compassion when going to work as a buddy in a highly structured 1 classroom at Kirshen. He happily volunteers to help and is very patient while helping out his buddy. Gael shows compassion inside and outside of the classroom and is kind to others and always has a positive attitude. He connected with a student who had been struggling to connect with others. Gael worked with him with such compassion and utilized both Spanish and English. He so admirably focused on the needs of the scholar, and after his experience volunteering in class, he thanked the teachers for allowing him to help his fellow scholars. He's truly deserving of this recognition and should be commended. Let's go ahead and clap for Gael.
Thank you. And we'll have Superintendent Dr. Noguchi and President Lopez join our nominee for a photo. Brother and sister. Thank you so much, and congratulations to Gael and Alejandro. So next, we will celebrate our MCS hero. Tonight, we are recognizing Mary Lobato, Attendance Liaison 3 for the Child Welfare and Attendance Division. Mary was nominated by Principal at Muir Elementary, Armando Medina, who is here tonight to read the nomination.
Good evening. This is Maria Lobato. Over the last 8 years, as a site administrator, I had the pleasure of collaborating with her during the SARF meetings, and I've seen how tirelessly she has worked to help students increase their attendance. She is tough, she is firm, and she is fair with the parents and their children as she strives to hold them accountable. I have witnessed firsthand handle difficult parents with composure, with grace, and empathy. Maria created a PowerPoint presentation for our ELAC parents in October, and she did it also in Spanish, and so that was a great help. She makes a concerted effort to instill the importance of regular attendance and provide strategies and supports for our students and parents. We need people like Maria to continue making MCS a destination district, and you cannot learn if you're not in school. Congratulations, Maria.
Superintendent Dr. Noguchi and Trustee Marks join our MCS hero for a photo. And now we will be moving forward to our special recognition for the evening. In recognition of National Special Education Day on December 2nd, 2022, Modesto City Schools is proud to provide special programs to more than 4,000 students with disabilities ages infant to age 22. Tonight, we welcome Senior Director of Special Education Elementary Education, Christina Romero, and Senior Director of Special Education Secondary Education, Christy Allen, to say a few words about our special education programs. Thank you.
Well, the two of you made us teary, so we're going to try to get through this part, but we so appreciate you. So good evening, Board President Lopez, trustees, Dr. Noguchi, and Cabinet, as well as esteemed guests. I'm Christina Romero, the Senior Director of the SELPA. This is Christy Allen, and I oversee elementary, and she oversees secondary. We're here tonight to celebrate National Special Education Day as we honor the anniversary of the adoption and implementation of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. This groundbreaking legislation was the nation's first federal special education law, providing students with disabilities a place in our public education system. Beginning with basic access to education for students with developmental delay, to the establishment of protections for students, families, and educators in creating an educational plan designed to meet the needs of each student, to the ongoing improvement and enhancement of services and standards throughout the years, we celebrate how far we have come while keeping our eyes focused on what we are doing to continue our forward movement in ensuring equity, access, and inclusion for our students.
So here in Modesto City Schools, we celebrate the more than 4,000 students with disabilities that we get to serve daily. We are proud to honor our staff that includes more than 275 special education teachers, specialists, and administrators, 490 paraprofessionals, and tonight we're lucky to have just a few of them in our audience with us. We celebrate the team of educational partners that attend and contribute and learn through our Community Advisory Committee and parent trainings to assist Modesto City Schools and our students in achieving their goals surrounding equity and access. Tonight, we are absolutely privileged to take a moment to acknowledge the work that has been done and to thank the Board of Trustees, Superintendent Dr. Noguchi, and Cabinet for their ongoing support in continuing the mission to provide our students with equity, with access, and with expectations for success. So thank you.
And at this time, we will have Ms. Romero and Ms. Allen accept a certificate on behalf of the Special Education Department to celebrate the department's excellence in service supporting students with disabilities and in celebration of the 50th anniversary of National Special Education Day. That concludes tonight's recognitions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. This takes us to the A9, the annual board reorganization. We're going to be doing some, I'll give a second for folks to. Yeah. Alrighty, so as I was mentioning, we're going into our board reorganization, which means we're gonna be having new officers for our next year, from December 2022 to December 2023, which also means that my time as your board president is coming to a close. But before we finish up my time, I just want to, sorry, I'm gonna get a little emotional here, but I just want to take some time to just kind of thank everyone and just highlight some of the things that, you know, I've been very fortunate to be a part of as your board president. First and foremost, we have seen a lot of growth. We've seen a lot of changes in our district over the last year. A lot of it due to the great work that board members have done, and so I'm very appreciative that I had the honor to represent you all in those. Just want to make mention of some of those. We talked about it earlier. The reason why we were so fortunate to be this year of having a presentation at CSBA is because we were the first district to order the biggest fleet of all-electric buses with a total of 50 and more to come. And so that has been something great, not only for the district, but for the environment. So when you talk about one other district is gonna look into it, that means that we're helping out our role, not only for them to save costs, but also save our planet. So that's been amazing to be a part of. Tuolumne in the last year has become a STEM academy, going from K6 to K8, listening to community and just getting their input of they wanted a community school that they felt a part of. I felt that sometimes going out, a lot of the area known as wrongly named no man's land for decisions that, I mean, none of us, right? But they don't have a location to call their own. They're in between series, they're in Modesto. So really, Tuolumne becoming a K8 and having these students stay an extra 2 years can really foment that growth of community. And with the lack of other agencies in the area, we are the institutional agency that can really hub around, right? So that's important in seeing that growth. So Also, that's one of the things that happened over the last year. Measures D&E, a lot of work that has happened in the last 4 years, whether it's from starting getting the community to vote and start the process of updating some of our most needed schools. We've been so fortunate of not only over the last year and a half is being a part of groundbreakings, but being a part of ribbon cuttings, seeing full schools under one roof, where that has not happened in their whole existence, or maybe when they were, very, very small schools, right? In a really long time, that hasn't happened. It's been rewarding. One of the things that I'm very proud of as well, I'm very proud of us all, but the parent ambassadors. I remember in CSBA, that's where, similar like I was a part. I was in a panel. I wasn't a part of it, but I was in the crowd listening to this and seeing the work that they did. And so I know that there was other board members in the room, and we talked to Sarah, and we wanted to see that in our schools and to see not only them get hired on, but now when I was there last Friday, seeing them actually put on events and get creative of their roles. It's again, very rewarding. The work that we've done around equity, whether it's creating our committees around grading graduation requirements, and now starting to work with boundaries. Again, the work that has been done through all Measure D, and now being able to, again, in this year, bring in another measure for us, another bond, so that we can do great work like we're doing for D&E, but at the high school level. So this is just a small list that, of all the amazing work that we've done in the last year. And it's not only work that we've done in the last year, but it's consistent, good work that we've done over the last 4 to 5 years and even beyond that, right? So I just happen to be the one up here and right here through it all, but it's a really good effort. But the work that we do here in the board meetings is just a small fraction of what goes on in the background. From everyone, I've always said it, everyone down the line affects student outcome and student success. For the board, when there's a lot that goes into our board meetings, right? We come on here, we're with you guys for 2 to 3 hours, every third Monday, but there's a lot of work that happens. So I want to take some individuals that really help flow the work that we do up here, right? I'm going to start out with one of the biggest. First I want to start out by thanking. So I want to thank individuals that really help us in the work that we do and helped me over the last year. First and foremost, I want to thank my beautiful and wonderful wife. That a lot of the work that you see requires time that you don't see, away from family, away from other things that keeps us, right? Our family members, are also a part of this board because they're also spending some time with us or going over with us some of the agendas or what have it, or not being able to be with us on a Monday evening. As simple as that. So I want to thank my family for being supportive in the extra time that I needed to step away over the last year and just in general. But in general, thank all the family members that allow us to make this work happen as well. On a personal note, I want to thank Sarah for all her work and all her dedication, and for really allowing us to be creative as board members, allowing us to really help shape how this district will look, and being cognizant of the different mentalities that are up here, and making sure that when we see a finished product, the word and the advices from the board really comes out. So I really appreciate you and for taking your time to spend with me and extra meetings just going over the work that we do. I would be I would kick myself if I didn't thank Ms. Antoinette in the back. Wish for the board. She is our brains, and she is our agenda, and she's our alarm. So, and our heart, because she takes care of us. She takes care of us. She makes sure that we keep on top of things. Without her, a lot of the work that we do wouldn't exist. So, I mean, just you do amazing work, and you do it consistently. And yeah, and just even on Sunday nights, she's texting us of what needs to happen the next day. So I really appreciate that, Antoinette. It helped me a lot in the personal sense. I want to thank our IT. Over the last year, one of the things that have grown is our tech up here, right? When we came here, there was big binders and this light switch over here, lights and microphones. Now we're a little bit more high tech, and the quality that you see for those that aren't here but see our board meetings out there is all thanks to our IT. So I want to give them a round of applause as well. Because, you know, for a year they've given me the option to mute, but I never used it. But all this is thanks to their work, from Solkin to the rest of the team. So we really appreciate it. To the board members, on a personal note, I know that I'm just getting to know Trustee Daly. I've gotten to know Trustee Maestas for a little bit of time. On a personal note, I've known 2 board members from a very long time, since I was in high school, Trustee Irvin and Trustee Mejia. And then I've known of all the great work you've done for our community for a very long time. So even though I didn't know you before being on the board, I knew of the work you did for our district. So I felt, in a sense, I did know you. Trustee Brown was one of the first board members to actually reach out to me after I was elected, and really sat down with me and, you know, taught me taught me over the last years, you know, what we needed to do here, and teach me how to grow into my trustee role. I say this because it's sort of meta and very rewarding that I got to lead over the last year meetings, sitting around some people that I consider role models for a very long time. So it's in the personal growth that has been very rewarding. Finally, I want to thank the community. One of the things that I've always said is that we want to, and I mention it every time, we want to hear your voices, and we really mean that. You are what drives this district. You are a part of the student success. So I really appreciated working with community and hearing what the visions you have for our district. And I'm gonna say this in Spanish también. So le quiero dar las gracias a nuestra comunidad que también ha sido parte de este trabajo que hacemos aquí, que comparten con nosotros las experiencias y los deseos que tienen para el distrito. Entonces ustedes son una parte muy grande y muy importante en el crecimiento de nuestros estudiantes. So with that, thank you so much for this last year, and you know, I look forward to being off on one of these things, and I look forward to I forgot 2 individuals. I also want to thank Trustee West, which came on the board when I started as well, and that she was the president before myself, and I've got to experience and learn a lot from her as a vice president. And I want to thank my vice president, Chad, for, you know, again, you've been a role model since my time here. So being a part of this and being a part of the last year and working along hand with you has been a great pleasure. So thank you so much for all your support, and I look forward to seeing your tenure up here as president. But with that, thank you so much, and I will now, I guess, even though I wouldn't like to, I will hand it over to Vice President Brown, because he's going to say some words.
Thank you. Well, President Lopez, Adolfo, my friend, when I came onto this board, I witnessed repeatedly criticism from the community. We heard people say, but your board doesn't look like us. There's been some historic changes over the past 5 years. I remember attending an event in South Modesto and having one of my good friends, Reggie Rucker, introduce me to a young man who thought he wanted to be a member of the school board. And I was impressed. He introduced me to Adolfo Lopez. And he told me, Adolfo is a graduate of Modesto High School. Adolfo is a recent graduate of UC Merced in their poli-sci department. And I had a chance that night to talk to Adolfo and learned a little bit about why he wanted to serve on the board, and I was impressed. And I was excited because I had high hopes that you would be joining us. So, fast forward a little bit further than that. It wasn't long afterwards that Trustee Irvin was appointed to our board. All of a sudden, we started looking more like the community. And then we had an election come when Trustee Maestas and Trustee Mejia came to be part of our board. And now we look like the community we represent. And not only do we look like the community we represent, but we speak like the community we represent. Also, this has been a historic year for our board in that I believe, and I can't document it, but I believe that we have had the youngest community member serving as board president in the history of Modesto City Schools. And I'm going to ask somebody who's a historian to help me document that so that we can really recognize that officially. But as far as I know, and as long as any of us on the board can remember, you are the youngest to serve in that role. And as such, you have been an excellent example to our students of what they can do to serve our community. Yes, any student at any of our schools can get a good education. We've seen in the past year that the opportunities for our students to attend UC Merced have just skyrocketed, and we're excited about the partnership that we have with them. And you represent that opportunity for those students and show them what they can do with an education from UC Merced. So Adolfo, you are a mentor to our students, an example for what they can do. They can get an education. They can come back to our community and serve well. Adolfo, I so much appreciate something that you have brought to all of these great events that you talk about. Our groundbreakings, our ribbon cuttings. You have been able to address those people in the audience who don't speak English and speak to them and let them know how important they are to us and how important it is that they are entrusting their great possessions, their children, to us, and how much they need us to make sure that we ensure that they get the best education possible. You make me feel like I need to learn Spanish to be able to follow in your footsteps. I'm not sure that I can do that adequately, so whenever possible, I want to call on you to say some words in Spanish to those people who we serve when we are there celebrating with them. I love you as a brother, and I have enjoyed serving with you and look forward to many years. We got 4 more at least. And so, thank you for your service. And we will never be the same because you've been here with us and you have helped us change the face of this board and the culture of our district. Now I'd like to present a gift to you. And thank you for your service. And then I'd also like to invite my fellow board members to say a few words as well. Please. You want to make comments to?
Yes, I just want to say, I keep it brief. It's been a great honor and a pleasure to be led by such an amazing youth in our community. I mean, Adolfo is in the same generation as Patel. When you look at generationally, they're in the same generation. So seeing the youngsters take that role of leadership and lead us, those they're entering a maturity level in this community. As he said, I actually met him in junior high school when he was at Henshaw. Then he went on to Modesto High, and that's where I really got to know him. And you could see him on campus then, even in Henshaw and at Modesto High School, that he was a force to be reckoned with as a youngster, that you knew he was going places. So it was really good to, see him embark on this journey, and he's, arrived here. So, and this is just a part, a small part of what yet to come for him. So I know that for a fact. And so I just, want to thank you again. You, like I said, you inspire me, so when I see you in action, when I see you in the community, you are the epitome of what, when people look at the South Side and the West Side, it always seemed like they have this negative association. I lived over there for 6 years, but there was a lot of positive things that are going on the South and the West Side of Modesto, and it was great to see that you have given back and you're recognizing that there's some challenges and you're doing something about it. So again, I just want to thank you, and I'm glad to be able to call you colleague and friend. Thank you.
Trustee Mejia.
Of course, this is a very special time for me to share a few words. I did meet Adolfo when he was in high school, and I was able to work with him for many years, and at times I'm gonna tell a funny story that maybe he's not gonna really appreciate, but it's gonna be good. But at this moment, I mean, you gotta embarrass him sometimes, For a long time when he was in high school, they would call him that he was my brother or my twin. So when we were we worked together for many years and many campaigns and many different things. So I'm just super proud and an honor to be sitting in the same dais as him and seeing the growth from a 16, I think it might have been 16 years old when I met him. And I'm just so proud of him. But we always talked about when we were at that age that many generations from now, what is the legacy? What is the thing that you leave behind? And I think that's this moment and the many generations that are gonna come after you, Adolfo, are gonna you're paving the way for many young kids to see themselves up here, and then hopefully we get to see the time when we transition out and a new generation comes in and serves this district for the next 100 years and stuff. So I'm just really proud, you know, how much I care for you, how much I love you, and how much I know your heart and what you mean to this community, and I'm just super proud of you and excited to share this dais with you. Thank you so much.
Trustee Marks?
You all said it so well, but I wanted to tell you that just to reinforce the idea that you've been such a great role model to the youth that are in our city. You've shown your leadership skills, your ability, and I've just watched you grow and in this position on the board as our chair. You've run the meetings so well. You've been a great leader. You have spoken well for us at all the events that you have that have happened this last year, which you mentioned a lot of them, which is so true. They were so great. You did such a good job. So I've been proud of you, watching you just fill these shoes in this position that you're in. And I know you're going to do great things. And like Trustee Mejia said, just your heart. We see your heart. I love your calm, patient demeanor up here, because I know it's not an easy job sometimes. And you've just been so calm and so patient. And so I appreciate that about you. And you've walked us through this year really well. So I'm proud of you. Good job.
Trustee Maestas?
Yeah, thank you. Just based on Trustee Irvin, now I feel old, and I feel, and all the proud of you comments, I feel like I should be like your Theo Abel or something. Like, yeah, your calm and patience has been so important in your leadership. And one of the things we have gotten to know each other a little bit more over the last couple of years, and I really respect all of the vision that you have and the passion that you have for representing the kids, the students, and especially the families in our city. And you know, they say representation matters, and it really does. And that's why I think that, you know, you as a person as a human has been so important for this board. So thank you for your time as president and your leadership. And I look forward to continuing learning from you and speaking with you as we continue on the board together the next few years.
So our student representative Patel.
So although I haven't been on the board or with all of you for very long, I do remember in May when I first met President Lopez in my interview, I remember I was sitting outside and I saw him go inside the room, and I was absolutely terrified because the board president was going to interview me, and I didn't know how anything would go, but it was the exact opposite. He was very welcoming, he was very calm, and exactly how all the other board members described him. And so I just want to say thank you, President Lopez, for being that great role model to all of us students. Just showing us that, you know, even though some of us might come from, you know, so little, we can make it big in the future, and we can serve our community, and we do have a voice, and we can serve even later in our lives on that bigger platform. So I just want to say thank you.
Dr. Noguchi.
I think I'm going to round out this little love fest up here. And I will keep it short. You know, part of my job is to ensure we are a team. And it's very difficult to create a team when you can't get everyone in the room unless it's public it's with the cameras. President Lopez behind the scenes has helped me with my role as a superintendent in creating the right conditions to be a team. We talk about community, we talk about kids, we talk about the future, and at the end of the day, it happens when we all work together with a common interest. And President Lopez, for the last 2 years, I've learned an incredible amount from him, really through the lens of equity. I've always been a leader through equity in the last 30 years of education, but he's continued to press the card and ask the questions, to always look at things through yet another way of looking at things. And he's forced me to do my work differently. So appreciate you for the last 2 years, because both vice president and as president. And then lastly, I remember being interviewed, I think it was my third interview with this board, at least some of you that were here. And we were getting up to leave, and I don't know any of your faces, because I'd only seen you 3 times in an interview, and you're kind of shocked in an interview anyway. But President Lopez came up to me as we were going out the door, and he comes up to me, and he's a little taller than me, and I remember it vividly. My back was to the door, and he's like, I believe in you. I believe in what you're saying. We really need to engage the parents. But he was just like, all right, I'm going to go with it, but you really need to show that you can do the work. And I hope that I've shown that we have been able to do this work together, because the piece that you didn't add with your list of accomplishments there, this board, under your leadership, we have made a huge investment in interventions for kids before, during, and after school in the tune of millions and millions of dollars. Significant increase in mental health services this year alone. Instructional minutes for our secondary. Those are all big moves for a district this size. And I thank you for your leadership, and I thank this team as we continue to go forward and we welcome a new member into this team. So thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for the kind words. Before I step off of here, I'm gonna go through our reorg, and then once we're done with the reorg, we'll do the switching of chairs. At this point, I want to begin with the selection of our new board president and vice president. As I mentioned, I will see the remainder of the organization, and then we'll switch seats at the end. Do I have a nomination for president of the board for the next year? Do I have a motion? Mejia.
Yeah, I motion President Brown to be elected to our new board president.
I'll second.
So we have a nomination for Vice President Brown. Do you accept this nomination, Trustee Brown? Trustee Brown has accepted the nomination. And it was, do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Trustee Mejia and seconded by Trustee Maestas. Thank you for that. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, welcome to the presidency, Trustee Brown. President Brown. Do I have a nomination for vice president of the board? I'll have Trustee Marks.
I'd like to nominate Trustee Irvin.
I have a nomination for Trustee Irvin. Trustee Irvin, do you approve? Do you accept?
Indubitably, I do.
Do I hear a motion to approve Trustee Irvin for vice president? Motion by Trustee Mejia and seconded by Trustee Marks. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, welcome to the vice presidency, Mr. Trustee Irvin. Okay, this moves us to A 9.3. This is the election of one representative to serve on the county committee on school district organization. This committee usually meets once a year during the fall trustee dinner. This is currently held by trustee Brown. Do I have a nomination for the County Committee on School District Organization? Trustee Marks?
Does trustee Brown, would you like to continue in that position?
It's not a difficult serve. I would like to make sure someone else has that opportunity.
Okay, great. Is there
So-
anybody else? Yeah, it only meets once a year at our annual trustee
And
dinner.
only when needed,
Yeah,
if there's special organizations that need to happen within the county.
Do I hear, okay, so trustee, President Brown,
Is there someone who would want to serve on that? And
okay.
then I'd like to nominate you.
All right.
I have a nomination for trustee Maestas. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by trustee Mejia, seconded by
Second?
trustee Marks. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Awesome. Now we move on to A 9.4, which is the selection of one board representative and one alternative to serve on the Salida Area Public Facilities Financing, SAFA, Board of Directors. This committee usually meets twice a year in December and in June at 5 p.m. This is currently held by a vacancy and by an alternative from trustee Marks. Do I have any nominations for the Salida Area Public Facilities Financing?
I would like to nominate trustee Daly to serve on that committee.
I have a nomination for trustee Daly. Do you accept?
I accept.
Great. Do I hear a motion to approve trustee Daly to serve on the Salida Area Public Facility Financing Board of Directors for 2023? Oh, that's correct. And we need one alternate. Are you? Okay,
I'll nominate Cindy.
we'll nominate.
Or trustee Marks.
One it has.
Alternative, sure.
Yeah, I didn't know what your nomination was, so it's okay. Because there's yeah.
All right, as we get into a little bit more, there'll be more individuals wanting
Yeah.
certain districts, so, that was my bad. So there's two individuals wanting, to be on the, Salida. On the SAPFA Board of Directors, we need one to be the first, and then we need an alternative.
What would you like to do, Jolie?
I'm okay being the alternative,
Okay.
so.
And then you can,
Yeah.
then you'll see how it works, and you can come to the meetings and at least, okay, that'd be
Okay,
fine. All
great.
right, I would,
So we have a nomination for trustee Marks as our representative and trustee Daly as our alternative. Do I have a motion to approve both nominations? Moved by trustee Irvin and seconded by trustee Maestas. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. And now we move on to A 9.5, the selection of two board representatives and two alternatives to serve on the School Infrastructure Agency, Financing Agency, SIFA Board of Directors. This committee usually meets 3 times a year, May, August, and December at 5:45. Currently held by trustee Irvin, and Maestas on alternative, and trustee Lopez, it's currently held by trustee Irvin and trustee Maestas, and alternatives are trustee Lopez and trustee Marks. Is there any nominations I'll first ask for nominations of the two that want to be on there as our representatives. Okay,
trustee Irvin, would you like to
Trustee-
continue too?
okay. So we have trustee Irvin and trustee Maesta looking to keep their spots on the SIFA board. Is there anyone else looking to be a permanent member? Seeing none, is there anyone willing to be alternative for this board?
I'd be willing to be the alternative.
Right, and I'm I'm okay with being the alternative as well. Okay? So do I have a motion to approve trustee Urban and trustee Maestas as our board representatives, and trustee Daly and trustee Lopez as our alternatives for the CFO board? Motion by trustee Mejia, seconded by
I'll second.
trustee Marks. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Now we move on to selection of 2 board representatives and 2 alternatives to serve on the Modesto Sylvan Schools Infrastructure Financing Agency Board of Directors. This committee usually meets 3 times a year in May, August, and December at 5:30, right before the CFA meeting. Currently held by trustee Urban and trustee Maestas, and alternatives are trustee Lopez and trustee Marks. Do I have nominations?
I would like to move that we do just what we did just before, with the CFA board, have trustee Irvin and trustee Maestas as the reps, the alternatives are trustee Lopez and trustee Daly, and have that the same for this one because it meets at the same time or right afterwards.
Great. Trustee Irvin and trustee Maestas, you guys are okay with your nominations? Trustee Irvin?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we have nominations, and I'm okay with alternative, and are you okay with being alternative? Anyone wanted, being a permanent, representative?
It isn't, when you say that, what do you mean? Isn't it the board rep, the 2
The
board reps?
2 board reps, so.
Were the 2 first nominations, so that's what it was on the other one, so my motion was to
Yeah.
keep that the same.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't anyone else
Oh.
wanting to be a direct representative, yeah.
All right, no worries.
And so no one wanting to be an alternative? Okay, so then do I have a motion to approve trustee Urban and trustee Maestas as our board representative to the Modesto Sylvan School Infrastructure Financing Agency, and trustee Daly and trustee Lopez as alternatives? Motion by trustee Mejia, seconded by President Brown. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. All right, this moves us to A 9.7, selection of 1 board representative to serve on the California Association of Large Suburban High School District Board of Directors. This committee usually meets 4 to 6 times a year, about every other month, for quarterly and political strategy meetings, usually from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., currently held by trustee Marks. Would you like to keep your,
I would like to continue on if the board, at the board's pleasure, so.
Is there anyone not wishing to nominate themselves or someone else?
I just want
You
to
wanted a
nominate
motion?
trustee Marks. That's a position that takes a lot of time and dedication, and
I've been-
appreciate that service.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so no one else? If not, do I hear a motion to approve trustee Marks to serve on the Association of Large Suburban School District Board of Directors? Motion by trustee Maestas and seconded by trustee Mejia. And approved by the board, student rep. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Okay, and then this moves us to selection of 1 board representative, which traditionally the president and the vice president, and 1 alternative to serve on the district audit committee. This committee usually meets once a year in December or January, currently held by President Lopez and Vice President Brown, and alternative trustee Marks. So do we have any nominations to the district audit committee? I will make the nomination that President Brown is on that committee. And I'll make the nomination that Vice President Urban is on that committee as well. Is there anyone willing to nominate themselves or someone else for the alternative? You like to be an alternative? Okay, so I have President Brown and Vice President Irvin as serving on this committee and alternative trustee Mejia. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to nominate Trustee Mejia and President Brown and Vice President Irvin.
Great, so we have a motion by Student Rep Patel. Do I have a second? Seconded by Trustee Maestas. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I have an invitation to Trustee Mejia. I'm not able to attend that meeting this week on Friday, the 16th. Would you step into my place?
What time?
I don't recall. I think it was 3 o'clock.
We'll work that out.
But is it long? I just got something, I can do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can you send me the info?
So, motion approved unanimously. All right. 9.9, selection of one board representative to serve on the construction committee. This committee usually meets every third Wednesday each month, currently held by President Brown. Do I have a nomination for construction committee?
And you're okay with that, with the new duties as the board president?
I wouldn't be me if I didn't serve there.
Okay, all right. Well, then I nominate Trustee Brown to serve as the construction committee.
So we have a nomination for President Brown. Do I have anyone else wishing to nominate themselves? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the nomination? Motion by Student Rep Patel and seconded by Trustee Mejia. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Bear with us, everyone. We're moving on to 9.10, which is the selection of 3 board representatives, which traditionally is the president, the vice president, and 1 additional board member to serve on the Budget Advisory Committee. This committee usually meets every Tuesday of each month at 2:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. and currently held by Trustee Lopez, President Brown, and Trustee Marks. Do I have any nominations to be on the Budget Advisory Committee? So I will make the nomination once again that President Brown and Vice President Irvin sit on that committee. Do you guys accept that nomination? Great. Yes, okay. And then we need a third nomination. You can self-nominate or you can be asked, you can nominate someone else.
Unless someone else would like to, would the
Usually
new
those are-
trustee like to serve on the Budget Advisory Committee?
That one this year might be a little challenging since it's
Okay.
every month.
Yes, okay. I'm willing to stay on and continue. I've appreciated the dialogue and the work on that committee. But I didn't know if there's somebody else that would like to do that. Is there anybody else? You all have your heads down?
I would,
I'll be happy to accept the nomination if that's what you're saying.
so we have the committee representative as nominated as President Brown, Vice President Irvin, and Trustee Marks. Do I have a nomination to approve? A motion by Trustee Daly, seconded by Trustee Mejia. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Our next item is 9.11, selection of 3 board representatives to serve on the Modesto City School Equity Committee. This committee usually meets in January, March, September, and November. Meetings are usually held from 3:30 to 5 p.m., currently held by Trustee Irvin, Trustee Maestas, and Trustee Mejia. Do I have any nominations for this committee?
I nominate Trustee Marks.
We have a nomination for Trustee Marks.
I turned on your microphone, by the way. See, I'm already getting us confused. I would like to nominate Trustee Lopez.
Thank you very much. I accept that nomination, though I would request that we look at.
I would like to stay on as well.
Great. So I have a thing here. I would love to be on this committee. The time does not work out for me. Is there a way that we can look at time for the committee? There's,
But we could maybe do alternate, so we do some at
okay. All right, so
or a little bit later than 5:15.
could
I didn't know what trustee Irvin wanted too, so I was just checking.
Oh,
Yeah, we went, yeah.
so we have a nomination of Cindy, Omero, and then myself. Would you want to stay on?
I mean, there's no alternate there, but I mean, I'm good, you know, I think my work was done in the beginning. So, yeah, I'm not.
My work on equitable grading is my primary focus. So if there's a continuation of that, I'd like to be involved in the conversation. But in terms of the equity committee as a whole, I'm willing to give up my space as well. So that's my thought for myself.
Same here.
Could I make a motion, just regarding the time sensibility, that I want to be on this committee. I also like to see trustee Maestas on there for the equitable grading. Could there be 3 and an alternative?
So we report out on equitable grading practices. It's just a topic for this meeting. The Equity Committee reports out on all the 6 recommendations that came from the Equity Task Force from 3 years ago. So that's just one piece. I think what I'm hearing from trustee Maestas, he wants to be informed, and actually it's going to be coming to the board here in the next couple board meetings too. So I think if I'm hearing you, you're going to get that information anyway, and the Equity Committee, you're willing to let somebody else go. Because remember, it's the 6 recommendations that we continue to go back and report on our progress towards meeting those recommendations.
Well, I appreciate.
Yeah, I was just saying, if you need an equity consultant, then I can come in and do that thing. No.
Well, if that's the case, I appreciate that, trustee Maestas. Okay, so I have a nomination for trustee Mejia, trustee Marks, and trustee Lopez. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by trustee Maestas, seconded by trustee Daly. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to 912, selection of 1 board representative to serve on the Association of Stanislaus County School Boards. This committee usually meets every other month at 11:30 to 1:30 p.m., currently held by trustee Brown.
So this is a position that needs some continuity, and it's also an organization that's going to be completely restructured this year. So I think that I need to be there to represent our district.
So we have a nomination for President Brown.
And I gladly train someone else to step into my role the following year.
Is there anyone else looking for a nomination? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the nomination?
I move. Oh, I'll second.
Motion by trustee Mejia, seconded by trustee Marks. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. This takes us to A913, selection of 3 board representatives to serve on the Modesto City Schools High School Boundary Committee. This committee meetings has not been scheduled yet, but will factor in the committee members' availability. Currently held by trustee Lopez, trustee Irvin, and trustee Mejia. Do I have any nominations for the Modesto City's High School Boundary Committee?
Yeah.
I would
Same
like-
here.
I would like to stay on as well.
All right, I'll nominate the three of you, trustee Lopez, trustee Irvin, and trustee Mejia, to be on there.
Do I have anyone else looking to nominate? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
Motion by trustee Marks, seconded by trustee Daly. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Okay, our final item of the district reorganization is item 9.14, the selection of two possible nominations for Modesto City Schools trustees to run for the California School Board Association Delegate Assembly for 2023. This is an elected seat. Terms are 2 years long, which will begin in April 2023 through March 31st, 2025. There are two meetings each year, one in May and one immediately preceding the association's annual education conference in December at the CSBA Annual Education Conference. The two incumbents whose terms will expire in March 2023, Ken Hohenstein, I hope I said that correctly, from Turlock Unified School District, and Cynthia Lindsay from Sylvan Union Elementary School District will not be going for another term. Do I have any nominations for representatives to run for the California School Board Association Delegate Assembly for 2023? We have a nomination for trustee Mejia. Do we have any other nominations?
I had asked trustee Irvin if he'd like to do it, so, but I think whoever runs, so this is.
Put both our names in.
We'll put, okay then,
Let
we
me
put
get it.
trustee Irvin and
We have somebody
trustee
on there.
Maestas, are you good with three? Yeah, so three of you. I think, yeah, so I just want to tell you how this works, because I ran for this and was elected by the county school boards. So it's going to take some work to solicit votes from those in the public school boards. You're voted in by all the school boards in Stanislaus County. So, and the voting starts in January and ends in, I think, February. So we'll all vote in January and then February, and we'll get 2 votes because there's 2 seats. So I just wanted to let you know how that was going to work. So you understand it and you heard the commitment. So it's a great thing to do. I would love to have more of our board represented in this county and to be in that position, because it is a very political position. The delegate assembly drives all of the legislation for Sacramento. We vote on what the legislation will be, and then we choose how we want to do that. So it's all done through CSBA.
So trustee Marks, I have a procedural question for you. There are 2 seats. Is there any reason we can't bring 3 names forward from Modesto City Schools?
There isn't any reason not to. It will be interesting to see what the schools decide in Stanislaus County, because however many names come in, they get 2 votes, and you know how the voting works.
So I think this is extremely exciting to think that we have 3 members of our board who are willing to serve in that role. And I would like to say, let's roll with 3 names. Any discussion about that?
I would agree, President Brown. I would just make a clarification that we'll come back next year to vote for 2 individuals.
In January, we
In
will be
January, we'll
voting.
vote for, as a district, we will have to vote for 2.
Yes, correct.
And we only have the choice to have to sway us as well, apparently.
Yes, that's right. So just to let you know, also, those delegates serve on the Association of Stanislaus County School Boards. They're representatives there, and they usually meet at the same time, because that's the role in that position. I don't know what the reorganization is going to look like, but that's typically what it's been in the past.
So we
Oh,
have
hold on.
here, sorry.
You said that they meet at the 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. also?
Yes, so I'd forgotten about that, because that's part of because you're going to share with that body what's happening so that they can accomplish what they're doing in Stanislaus County. It helps you get to
So
know those
Cindy, let me
people.
just clarify that.
You do it, yeah.
Okay, so that meeting typically has what is the position that Paul held?
He was the board of directors for CSBA. So
So-
now Ken will be that, and he's from Ripon Unified School District.
So if someone from our district receives that nomination or receives the votes for that position, then I would step away from that county organization and have that individual serve on the county school boards association.
But wouldn't they play a different role as assembly, as a delegate?
Not necessarily.
Not in that meeting.
Not in that meeting?
So we've had three of those delegates from different districts serve on that committee because they were selected to represent their district. And then we also have Paul in his role serving, what is his,
He's the board of directors for 6 counties, and so he's an invited guest to be part of that board, yes.
yeah. So anyway, it gets a little confusing, but if someone from our district is elected, then I would step away from that county school boards association and let that person serve there.
Okay. I just want to remind that there hasn't been enough, there's been a nomination of 2 board members. I haven't heard actually, there's only a nomination for 1, and you haven't made a nomination officially.
I mean, yeah, am I supposed to make a nomination for
Oh, no,
this?
I don't know
Oh.
if you were. I'm trying to say, we have a self-nomination from trustee Mejia, but I don't have a verbal nomination for either anyone else at this point.
Oh, I thought I had nominated trustee Irvin and trustee Maestas, but
Okay.
I see now
Yeah.
that's gonna create an issue in January.
So do you want to make a nomination for them both?
Oh, man, I don't wanna make my brothers unhappy.
I'm gonna make it easy
Okay.
right now.
Oh, so
You said the position is political. I'm not political.
All right.
So I'm gonna decline my nomination.
Okay?
It's an interesting spot.
Okay, so we have nomination of,
So I withdraw my nomination, and so
Yeah.
for trustee Irvin, and I will nominate trustee Maestas.
okay, so we have now a nomination for trustee Maestas and trustee Mejia.
Yes.
Anyone else wanting to make a nomination? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the nomination of trustee Maestas and trustee Mejia to run for the California School Board Association Delegate Assembly? Motion by
Second.
President Brown, seconded by trustee Marks. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes unanimously, and hopefully, we will have you both on our assembly, on our delegate assembly. And with that, yes, it's been quite some time. And we have to make the nomination and submission by January 7th of 2023. Just for your information. And now we can make this official switch of seats. New president and vice president will take up these seats, and I'll move on to the other side. So thank you so much for bearing with us, and we'll take a 5-minute break for everyone. And we'll come back at 7:47.
Good. I thought, yeah. All right.
We'll call the meeting back to order, and we've had a special request. It's finals week. And so with that, we would like to hear our report from our student representative, Dara Patel.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you to our new president, Mr. Brown. So I hope everyone has had a good day. This past month, I also had the privilege and honor of attending the CSBA conference in San Diego, along with the other board members. And I was able to learn a lot about my position as the student board representative. I learned more about our in-depth responsibilities that come with serving such a large student population. And I love the fact that I was able to connect with students across California. I was able to navigate with other student representatives and talk about things that affect our schools. We talked about common occurrences in our districts and common issues, and just a few were vaping, student climate, and mental health. Those are the common topics that we talked about. And I got insight on new programs and events that students held throughout their school sites, and one of those that I thought was interesting was a wellness week. So they talked about like mental health and just physical and mental wellness, and being able to navigate through tough times, like especially this week with finals, with the stress and the anxiety that comes on with students, being able to navigate through that. And so I hope that we can work together to incorporate that in our schools, because I think it's important, just as Red Ribbon Week or any other wellness week that we have. And another key takeaway that I got was from a group discussion that we had with Tanya Carlone, who was a moderator that came into our conference. And she taught us how to navigate difficult conversations through collaborative communication and healthy discourse. So kind of just having those skills to be able to talk with each other. And I think these will be helpful for obviously my time here on the board, but also in my school, and helping other students like with Inner High Council be able to navigate through difficult topics and be able to communicate with them on the Inner High Council and Student Advisory Committee. And speaking of Student Advisory Council, I was able to attend the meeting last week, and students shared the perception on current student climate, and overall they had a pretty positive outlook on student climate. They're stressed with finals coming up and with the end of the semester, but that's normal as granted. And one thing that students discussed was the current dress code. Along with the dress code committee, they kind of gave some feedback and recommendations that would be, I think, they're going to be given later this year to the board. And so one thing that students kind of agreed on with consensus was that we need to get rid of some of the archaic language in the dress code that doesn't really apply to our kind of modern day era when the dress code was written. So I think that's something that we should take into perspective when the dress code committee comes and gives a report to the board. But that was my board report. Thank you.
So Trustee Patel, make sure that the feedback that you received from that meeting gets over to Mr. Herbst, because he's the one gathering all the different data points from the different stakeholders. I know we're not supposed to use that word. What's the word? Educational partners, because that is one piece, and we're going to do some surveys and get more input from students, but I don't want to have that lost.
All right, thank you. I will send that over.
So Student Representative Patel, I need to admit that I made my very first mistake as board president. I should have asked the board to adjust the schedule. And so we will address that as we talk about the order of discussion. But thank you for stepping forward, and we wish you the very best on your finals tomorrow. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. Okay, we'll now move to section A10 on the agenda, the approval of the consent agenda. Are there any comments from the public regarding anything that is in the consent agenda? Seeing none, are there comments from the board regarding the consent agenda? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I motion to approve, or I'll second it.
A motion from Trustee Mejia, second by Trustee Marks. Those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And now we're addressing the approval of order of discussion action items. I'm going to back up and ask for your approval to allow our student rep to present out of order. Any other, is there a motion to approve that order of discussion action items, including that one change? Motion by trustee Maestas and second by trustee Lopez. It's hard to say trustee with Lopez right now. So those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Trustee Irvin, are you opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously.
So to make it official, we're going to move B1 to A915. That's what you all just did.
Yes.
Yes. So thanks for covering for my mistake, everyone.
It's all good.
All right, so now this is the period for public presentations. And I have not seen these yet, but I see that we have 3 cards. First card is Debbie Martinez.
Good evening, Debbie Martinez, Community. I wear 5 titles within the community, and I am blessed tonight. Welcome, President Brown, again. This time, you won't hear me yell. Look at our board. Cindy, congratulations. If I had 2 to pick from the beginning of 10 years ago to where we're at today, you 2 are the best of choice. You work with Dr. Parkins Committee, Boys and Girls Disadvantage. You 2 are the strongest voices that remained in the equation, and I couldn't be happier. Congratulations on your new position again, and I look forward to rolling up our sleeves and actually working this time. Thank you. Welcome. Maestra, you come from Ceres. I want to give you an update. We just had our town hall meeting. I want to have that here. We pulled in 100 parents from We Are La Raza. Prior to that, in October, we pulled in 150. Parents want to come in. They're eager to learn. They want to be part of. It can be done here at Modesto City School District now. We now have a diverse board. We now have a voice within the equation of diversity. And I'm just so proud that I stood in this fight for the last 10 years to see the fruits of the labor come out for the community and the people. Mrs. Daly, I want to welcome you because before you were there, you were here. You were our voice at one time, voicing for the needs. You called me and I said, girl, go for it. And I'm so proud being on this end of the podium for 10 years, starting from this end to this end, coming forward, we can now say we are a circle. Dr. Noguchi, I want to say you have done an amazing job. I go tomorrow to California Legal Rule Association, so let me go on record. You have done a tremendous job. I haven't been the nicest person, but there was a reason why. Look around and look what you get to work with now. Diversity. It was worth every tear I cried at night to bring change to Modesto City School. I've witnessed these gentlemen come from schools, and now they're cabinet to you. I couldn't have had a better cabinet when I needed to talk to them 3 weeks ago. Work is being done behind the scenes. So I'm here to report that you members that I just witnessed culture change to, kudos to every single one of you, starting from Mrs. Jackson to Russ. We now have hope. We now have a diverse board, and now I can go out to the public, I can go to community, and I can say Modesto City Schools is on the right track for the people. We, the people, welcome all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next card is Guadalupe Padilla. Perfect.
Buenas noches. Mi nombre es María Guadalupe Padilla. Soy mamá. Tengo una niña y un joven en la escuela. Estoy aquí por confusión de un contrato de estudio independiente. La confusión es que no sé si se puede utilizar solamente una vez o varias veces durante el año. La otra es de que tengo varios años con este mismo problema, tratando de sacar estudio independiente. He ido a varias escuelas y me ha pasado lo mismo. Que quiero ser la voz de los padres que no se animan a hablar y de los jóvenes en luchar por sus derechos. Cuando ellos luchan para tener una buena asistencia, unas buenas calificaciones, cuando no les quieren dar el estudio independiente, esos jóvenes viajan a México para visitar a sus abuelos, sus familias. Me dicen que puedo sacarlo durante las vacaciones. Es poco tiempo cuando hay que pagar bastante por unos tickets de avión. Cuando va uno, cuando había 20 días, 10 días los agarrábamos antes, 10 días después, para mediar los costos y disfrutar más la familia en México. Ahora me encuentro de que son nada más 14 días para poder estudio independiente. Mi pregunta es si me pueden ayudar, cuántos contratos o es nada más un contrato por año, y que escuchen a los jóvenes. Sé que no tiene que ser todo por igual porque hay jóvenes con buenas calificaciones o malas calificaciones, mala asistencia o buena asistencia. Estoy hablando por los jóvenes que trabajan, que luchan para tener una buena asistencia, una buena calificación. Cuando llega el tiempo de visitar a sus familias, no les dan el trabajo, el estudio, de tener una calificación con una letra A, se las bajan a una F por no tener el trabajo, por no tener la asistencia. Eso es lo que yo creo. Si me pueden ayudar, no sé a quién referirme. Es primera vez que estoy aquí. Lo he tenido el problema varios años. Si me pueden ayudar y si pueden hacer algo para los jóvenes. Estamos en el Valle Central, donde me dicen por qué no van en tiempo de vacaciones, que es junio, julio. En el Valle Central es cuando está más el trabajo, es cuando no puede uno viajar hacia México a visitar a sus familias. Es por lo que lo hace uno en estas vacaciones. Gracias.
Thank you. I'm here to talk on behalf of Mrs. Maria Guadalupe. Well, she has 2 kids in our district, a girl and a boy. She has a confusion with a contract in independent studies. She is not quite sure if she has to sign several different contracts throughout the year. She's here because she's been having issues with this program in independent studies. She's here to fight to support students' rights and the students that need to have good attendance and good grades. She's been especially talking about that period of time where families need to go back to their countries to visit their families. Her example is that she and her family, they need to travel to Mexico, especially during this time of the year. They can go back and visit their families. The thing is that on the contract, it only says that they're allowed to be out for 14 days. The thing is that she's not quite sure that how many contracts she has to fill out in order for them to be allowed to be out of the country, but in the same program during a longer period of time. She is here to ask for our help. She doesn't know who she needs to talk to. She just wants to represent this kind of young people that have good grades and they're good attending at school. Her other point was that we're in an area with labor and work is mostly done during the months of July and June. That is the reason why they cannot travel during the time of the year and they need to travel in December. That is the reason why they need to know who to talk to make sure what they can do to have a longer period of time with this contract in independent studies.
And the reason why she's confused is because here she speaks Spanish, she needed an interpreter, but she signed a form in English. We need to correct this kind of stuff. Thank you.
Gracias. So the next card that I have is for Aaron Anguiano.
Good evening. I'm Aaron Anguiano, President of the Latino Community Roundtable. I also sit on the board of the South Modesto Business United. And I decided to go there because the South Modesto is the ugliest part of town, besides the west side. And the airport, and other areas downtown. But anyways, about 20 years ago, I came back from the Bay Area after living here a few years and going to Stockton and Davis and Sacramento and Newark. But most of my life I spent here in Modesto. And I came back because I wanted to raise a family. And we all like to, I wanted to work here and raise a family and work. And then I went to law school, and probably two of my children are also lawyers. But anyways, 2 years ago, when I became president of the Latino Community Roundtable, I came to introduce myself, and excuse my English, and it's broken. And besides, this is nerve-wracking. But anyways, I met Cindy and Chad and Ms. Newman. She was the president of the board. And so I was asked a question: why you guys always come here yelling at us and throwing tantrums and are like we're gonna listen to you? And then I thought, oh, you better listen to us because you know what it takes to come and stand over here? A lot of courage. And so I was thinking that after I served in various committees for the city of Modesto, like 3 of them, and also with you, and I know that you are in the charter of the city of Modesto, then I realized, okay, we're doing all this, and then we're almost cussing at the board, and just like Mark Twain taught us, when you're mad, count to 4, or when you're upset, count to 4, and when you're mad, you start swearing, right? And so I can't be acting like Nathaniel Hawthorne and talking about morality and your moral duty of educating our Latino students. And so since we live in the South Modesto and we looked at all the ugliness of Modesto, and I even had to send my daughter, my sister to Sears High and my son to Bayer and take him every day. And so then I thought something needs to be done about it. And so I think that you need to let the parents more involved in what you do because, all those areas have crime, homelessness, mental health issues. And then what is the district doing about it for the last 150 years, So there's nobody else to blame. There's lack of education. And then I was looking at your rankings. You're the 5th worst city of uneducated people in America. and I go like, what are you gonna do? Well, I think you need to involve the parents. From the beginning of the recommendations, and when you're setting up policy in the district, you guys, you're elected and you're selected, then you need to get us involved to get input before the recommendations come to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, although we cannot engage in discussion or take formal action on items not on the agenda, we thank you for following the protocol and addressing the board, and for taking time to share your views with us this evening. And we'll now move to what was item B2, and I'm not sure where it would fall in. I guess it's now B1. Because we moved a student rep report into Section A. This is the Board of Education recessing and convening as Modesto School Board's Joint Powers Authority. So now I'm going to close the Modesto School Board meeting, and I'm going to open what is called the Joint Power Authority. And let's see, first action as the Joint Power Authority is to approve the minutes for the meeting of December 13, 2021. Do I hear a motion?
I move approval of the minutes of December 12th, 2022.
2021.
2021, sorry.
So motion
Looking at the
by
agenda.
Trustee Marks. Do we have a second? Second by Trustee Mejia. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, saying nay and raising your hand. Looks like the motion carries unanimously. And we'll now complete the annual election of Modesto City Schools Joint Powers Authority 2023 officers. This changes annually as in this organization meeting in December. And I would like to request a motion to approve the officers as they are slated in the agenda.
I will move approval of the officers as a slate in the agenda. And just for the public to know, the chair is the president of the board. The vice chair is the vice president of the board. The executive director is the superintendent. The associate executive director is the associate superintendent of business services. The treasurer is the executive director of business services. And the secretary is the superintendent.
Secretary is Michelle Price.
Oh, because in this, it says it's the superintendent. So, all right, well, we'll change that.
Secretary is.
Mr. President, let me clarify. So putting names with these, obviously, is President Brown, Vice President Irvin, Superintendent Noguchi, and Associate Superintendent Business Services Zierli. Executive Director Business Services is Michelle Price, and then the Secretary is the Superintendent.
Okay.
Oh,
Dr.
okay.
Noguchi.
I did read that correct. Okay, I did. Thank you.
All right, so we have that motion by Trustee Marks. Do we have a second? Second by Trustee Mejia. Those in favor? Aye. No need for opposition because that passed unanimously. And let's see. Are there any comments from the public regarding this? Oh, let's see. There's something else I need to do. No, I need a motion to approve the authorization of the annual audit of the accounts and records of the authority for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022, and direction to staff to transmit the report accordingly. Do we have a motion? by trustee Maestas, second by trustee Irvin, Vice President Irvin. Let's see, those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand. Aye. Passes unanimously. Now, are there any comments from the public on this agenda item? Seeing none, Mr. Waltersdorf, can you explain to us what this is all about?
I'd be happy to. So back in 2010, we had the opportunity to apply for some bonds from the federal government, quality school construction bonds. And by doing so, we needed to create an entity that we could issue these bonds through. And so we created this entity, Modesto City Schools Joint Powers Authority, and it's made up of our two districts, the elementary district and our high school district. And so we use that entity to then apply for those bonds. We did for both the elementary and the high school. We did not receive approval for the elementary, but we did receive approval for the high school piece. And so we went ahead and we issued some lease revenue bonds under that. That was in June of 2010. They are 17-year bonds. They'll be coming up in 2027. And the amount was right around $16 million, and the amount was used to finish building Gregori High School and to also build the stadium at Gregori High School.
Thank you. That's very helpful to us on the board who are not as familiar with these proceedings, and appreciate that. Do we have any comments or questions from the board? Okay, then seeing none, then we'll go ahead and close this meeting of the Joint Powers of Authority, and we will reconvene as the Modesto Board, Modesto City School Board. All righty. So next on the agenda is item B, now B3, report on the expansion of adult education within Modesto City Schools. And presenting to us tonight is Mr. Little.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. How you doing? Congratulations, new Board President Brown, Vice President Irvin, distinguished trustees, Superintendent Noguchi, all attendees, families, students, community members attending here in person and online this evening. I am Anthony Little, graduate of Modesto High School, past Women's Auxiliary Scholarship recipient myself, and current Director 3 of Alternative Education for Modesto City Schools. It's an honor to be up here this morning to present the report on the expansion of adult education for Modesto City Schools. This process started in 2019, prior to me assuming this position in the district, and I look forward to highlighting some of the amazing work that has been initiated by members of this current and previous boards and district leaders, including Senior Director of Educational Options, Rachel Barkis, Associate Superintendent of Educational Services, Brad Godot, and of course, Superintendent Dr. Sarah Noguchi. So in this report, we'll talk about how the board has supported the expansion of adult education and some of the things that we've done this year and in the past couple of years as that expansion has moved forward. Of course, in education, we can't go anywhere without acronyms, so I won't go through the alphabet soup too much, but I'll highlight a few things here. ASE on this list is Adult Secondary Education, and when we're talking about that, we're talking about high school diploma and our adult learners earning that high school diploma that they didn't receive earlier in their educational background. ESL, English as a Second Language, which is a focus of our program for our community members who come to our area not speaking English at the level they would like. We can support that. HSE is high school equivalency. Most of everyone knows about GED, but HiSET is also a similar exam that you can take to receive a high school equivalency. So obviously our goal one in this district is to increase academic achievement, and I know it's not explicitly stated in here, but this also includes our adult community outside of our K-12 education. So that's where this area of focus is for me this evening. So some of our programs, or all of our programs, include English as a Second Language, as I previously mentioned, high school diploma, which is our ASE, GED HiSET prep courses, which did not exist prior to this year. We have those in both Spanish and English to support a lot of our people who have moved to our country who were previously highly employed in other areas or previously educated outside the country, and they don't want to have to go through the same courses that they would have to do to get their high school diploma, can now take their high school equivalency in Spanish. We have Certified Nursing Assistant program, which is very successful. Also our Home Health Aid, which is in addition to the CNA program where our students can get additional certification to get into them, get employed in the industry. Citizenship program to help our community earn their citizenship in the United States and pass that exam with the state. Our welding program, and then our collaboration with Stan State for early childhood education as we equip some of our staff in the district to become our early childhood educators in pre-K and up into kindergarten. I know I'm speaking up here by myself, but I do have a team behind me, including Senior Director Rachel Barkis, who is my direct supervisor. Also, we have an admin of special projects, which is Mr. Craig Springer, our adult education specialist, Jeanette Zaborski, alternative education counselor who's dedicated to our adult education program, which is Jorge Perez. One full-time teacher. Our second is actually starting on Thursday, so we'll have 2 full-time teachers, 10 part-time teachers throughout the district, and we also have a partnership with Learning Quest for our HiSET support class that they assist with. So here's a side-by-side comparison on where we were, where we are, and hopefully we can project where we're going. 2019 to 2021, we had 1 full-time teacher. Now we're moving into 2. We had an adult ed, alt ed counselor who supported adult education. Now we have 1 dedicated counselor who is on fire. I wish he could have joined me today, but he had some prior engagements, but his spirit is in the room. Our average enrollment back in those days, 120 ESL students, 229 diploma students. We're currently at 225 ESL students, and we're halfway through the school year, so we look to exceed 500. 180 diploma students currently on track. Will probably be in upwards of 400 by the time the year is over. We received WASC accreditation, which is an honor for adult education. This was prior to me. My predecessor got that work done. When you do your research on accreditation for adult ed, that WASC accreditation, not everybody has that, so we definitely have a feather in our cap for that. We do have our first review of our accreditation in the spring of 2023, so that's coming up here shortly. Prior to this year, we had no high school equivalency prep classes, so now we have it in both Spanish and English. CTE courses, we had in the past and still currently have our welding, CNA, home health aid. Last year, we also supported our bus driver training. We had forklift. We had RECA prep for our teachers who still needed to pass that class. And we had some sports officiating training as well happen last year. So we hope to continue some of those. Digging deeper into the numbers a little bit, you'll kind of see where we're at right now and where we hopefully will go. So ESL over the past couple of years, 56 to 184 to 225. We're headed in the right direction. Again, that 225 is halfway through this school year. And adult secondary education, so those headed for their high school diplomas, 165, 293, and we're at 164 already halfway through the school year. Obviously, COVID hit adult education especially hard, but we can definitely see the eagerness of our adult learners here in our area, so you can see where our numbers are headed right now. Just some funding. This is where our funding comes from, both federal and some state funds here. So this allows us to handle the programs that we have. Partnerships and leadership opportunities are important to me as the leader for this program. I'm trying to embody that and showcase that to my team. So we are part of a consortium of adult education service providers here in our region, Stanislaus Motherlode. I'm the chair of that group. I'm also the AXA Region 7 state rep for adult education for our region as well. Previously was a presenter down in San Diego during the conference that happened last month, and we'll present again for Region 7 in May up in Lake Tahoe. Our partnerships with Learning Quest and also our EL department here in the district to help support our citizenship and our Spanish classes. So we are a destination district. We need to demonstrate that, and we need to step up and take leadership roles whenever possible. I'll try to speak on his behalf, which those of you who know Jorge, he's got his own voice for sure, his own energy. I will say that the work that's happening right now would not be possible without him. I'll try not to get emotional speaking about him, but I do feel special about that guy. About a year ago, he walked by my office, and you guys kind of know how it works in an office setting. You say, hi, how you doing? Everybody says, I'm doing okay, having a great day, and blah, blah, blah. But something called upon me to ask Jorge a specific question, and that question was, are you getting your bucket filled? And that kind of opened up a dialogue between he and I think a real bonding moment where he was able to express his energy about where he thought he should be and the work he should be doing in this community. And as you know, it's important to have the right people on the bus, but then after they're on the bus, you got to put the right people in the right seats and the right person driving the bus. So I think he and I work hand in hand very well. It's not always easy because we're trying to push and others are trying to pull. So I think you can see from our numbers we're getting to the right place. Jorge is the right person to have in that spot. He is out there working with sites on a regular basis about expanding our ESL opportunities to different sites in the district. We're currently at 5 different sites. We're opening up another 2 or 3 in January. And as a principal reaches out saying they're ready to go, he hits the ground running, sending out flyers, doing social media blasts, Blue Jean Express, sending things home. There's a picture coming up here when we were looking to get 40 adults to sign up for ESL in the Henshaw area, we ended up with 80. So whatever we shoot for, we end up with more than that. So that's a lot to do with Jorge Perez and the support team that I have here. So I'm excited about where our program is going. So you can see from up here, we're reaching out to sites, social media, community-based organizations. Jorge is great with that, great relationships within the community. We are taking back a lot of our students that were referred out of district, comeback kids, other places, for that diploma opportunity, even if they didn't complete it as a 12th grader. So a lot of those are staying in-house. Our referral process is getting consistent and updated on a regular basis. And the onboarding of our high school students into adult ed as needed is happening. And Jorge is be able to provide that resource and that point of contact and very responsive to our community. So this is a picture of the class at Henshaw that filled that library there. So we were able to not only open a class at Henshaw, but next door at Bret Harte, we have a class going on there. So a few things that highlight kind of our ESL progress. 1 full-time teacher, we're going into our 2nd. We have 4 part-time hourly teachers. We're at Pearson, we're at Franklin, Bret Harte, Henshaw. We're moving on to Shackelford and some other sites here in the next semester. We've added approved PD opportunities for our teachers that are specific to our adult learners and adult ed teaching, which is great. So the collaboration with CIPD has been awesome in order to get those opportunities in there so we can start building on their toolbox in order to support our students. We also transitioned to electronic registration and testing, which is allowing us to kind of streamline how we're tracking our students and our effectiveness. So it's all headed in the right direction. Next steps, I know as educators, we don't spend a lot of time giving each other kudos on things we worry about. Where can we move on and what else can we do? So I think here in Modesto, we have a unique opportunity with having great CTE facilities in our district. How can we connect adult education to those facilities to allow our adults to get the certifications they need to get better employment in this area? Definitely an area of growth for us. We want to continue to expand our ESL offerings to any and every school and community location within the area. We're noticing whenever we open one up, we can fill it up. So let's keep going. We want to consider additional full-time teachers and expand availability of courses. We'd like to be able to offer a course anytime during the day because we never know when our community is available. So we want to be able to have a class available for them. Big goal, lofty goal, that's what we're here for, but a centralized location where we know this is our adult school and this is where the work is happening. Right now, we're at Pearson. We have 5 classrooms over there, which is great. But there are some great adult education programs throughout this state that have a lot of, dedicated space for adult ed. So that's an area of growth. And continuing outreach and marketing and making sure our community is aware of our opportunities here in the district. That's an ongoing process, so we'll continue to fight that battle. Okay, any questions?
So first, do we have any comments from our community?
Debbie Martinez, We're La Raza Parents Union, and thank you, Mr. Little. I've had the honors with working with Anthony Little. I'm going to be biased now. He comes from Ceres, and everybody knows how I feel about Ceres. It's because good stuff is coming out of it. I don't care how big the district is or how little the district is. As long as the production is moving in the manner that it's supposed to, according to state and federal, hello, we're happy. To hear a report like this, I mean, even to see that the Comeback Kid program has been gone, how many years have I been complaining about that one? And now we're keeping our families in-house, and now we're not sending them out to SCOE because they don't belong in SCOE, they belong here. They're serviced here, the parents are here, and the good stuff is coming out of here. And so thank you, Mr. Anthony Little, for an awesome report, and tell Mr. Jorge kudos to him too as well.
I'm Aaron Anguiano again. Well, I'm pleased to hear this. I think it's a really good thing. And like I said, this district has had really good programs. I'm still impressed with the IT department and professional development, because if we don't give the tools to the teachers, then what's going to happen? But if we are doing what we're supposed to do, like, for instance, this is 20 years ago when the state said, yeah, there's going to be money for adult education, teach them English. Remember when bilingual education was like, no? Well, now we said, oh yeah, dual education, now it's good, It's like, I think it's just a hypocrisy or racism, but I'm pleased to hear this. And the district has many good programs, but we have issues with equity, access, grading. By the way, I don't like the equity grading name. We should call it like standard-based grading, achievement grading, because I talk to some parents, it's like, oh, what, you think that we should give free grades to kids? So just a little warning to you. This is coming, but I know that you like equity grading, but I haven't heard your motion. Where is it? For 2 years, my son came here to tell you what he thinks about homework, and then, okay, so you have 7 good programs, and then you have 7, I can point to 7 or 10 bad things, including the baseball fields at Bayer, because my son goes over there to train with a private trainer, for baseball, or Modesto High, or Downey even has holes in the fence and a thing dangling there, and there's no shade for the children to sit when they're playing baseball. So you ask for money and we gave you 130 million, and you ask for more money and we gave you 200 million. You know what? You're good at looking at things, but where's our education of our children? So you have 7 good programs and 7 bad things, and you know what? Just like my son got, He had 4 A pluses, okay? So when he does his work and he does his tests and he does his quizzes, A plus. And then for some reason he gets sick, he's growing up, he has pains, and he'll be sick for the whole weekend. And, you know, he grew up like this much. He was right here, well, he's right here. And then some teachers don't understand child development. And so how do we train them? You know, professional development needs to be done. You know, Miss Odell, she was a great person. I hope this person can now fit, you know, her shoes. I don't know you, Mr. Rich, but nice to meet you now. Anyway, so I will give you an F still because that's why you gave my son an F, you know? 400 and then 4 zeros, total 800, divide by 8, and it's an F. So you got an F, guys. And so I want to see some stars shining, but I want to see it in results with grades with the children. What am I going to say to you, Simmer said, oh, my son has an F, let him into the medical school because that's where he wants to go. You know, at my home, we have a lot of resources, and he can get good grades. All C's right now, because I had to work really hard to get there. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more comments from the public? Comments from the board? I see Vice President Irvin.
Yes, really appreciate this report, Mr. Little. Another young man I met when he was a senior in high school before he left to go to Florida A&M in Florida. And has come back to give back to the community. And we appreciate Ceres Unified for grooming him for better and greater things. So he's here doing his job. And so also Jorge, another great gentleman who worked for me with the district. I stole him from Human Services back in 2000. And hired him as the first coordinator, after-school coordinator at Bret Harte. So I like to say I have a little legacy around here. I wanted to get to, we got a lot of great programs going on in CTE. And one I'm a little passionate about is solar. And wanting to get, like I said, when I was at CSBA and I visited some other schools who have some up-and-coming solar programs because of the laws in California says, you know, new developments, you have to have solar, you know, pushing towards that, was it 2030 or 2050, where every home is supposed to be, you know, solar, you know, renewable energy, and wanted to know what are our efforts going to be in terms of solar and creating jobs, you know, having other opportunities, because electrical is part of that as well, because solar installers have to be able to install those electrical panels and those batteries and all of those good stuff that is part of that, you know, impacting our carbon footprint. And so that was, you know, my question in terms of solar, you know, because there don't seem to be any programs locally. I talked to a young man, he said he was a former student, graduated a couple years ago, but he was going down to Merced to learn solar as part of some type of adult ed CTE program down there. But I just wanted to know if there's any ideas or any chances that we can get involved in solar and maybe even wind.
So, Vice President Irvin, yes, there are plans. It's not coming through adult ed. It would come through Rachel Barkas, which is Career Technical Education, which is CTE. We're reminded in the last CTE presentation, we talked about a number of different options to bring solar, not only solar panel, but electrical stations, really by way of Elliott, where we're building some facilities there. So that is in the works, but what adult ed does, when Anthony referenced adult ed can build from the programs that our high school students in the CTE programs build, right? So it's not going to come from adult ed, it's going to come from the high schools, and then the adult ed borrow the facilities from where the high schools are at. So long answer to your question, the answer is yes, and it's coming.
Right, because I'm coming up with my idea. Don't nobody take my idea. I'm coming up with a solar superhero, and then he has his solar panels all over, and that's how he flies and does everything. His strength from the solar panels in the comic book. No, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It's Solar Woman or Solar Man.
Trustee Mayestas, top that, please.
I hate to burst your bubble, but I'm kind of a superhero buff, and Superman's power already is coming from the sun. So, Superman. But he doesn't have any solar panels on him. Anyway, we're not going to get into discussion about superheroes. I just want I have two questions. Antonin, I've known you for a while too. High school CTE facilities, are there some ideas on which ones we can start to target as we grow? I know that like they got that really cool construction one over at Downey. I always see that house like not built and then built and then not built and then built. So I think that would be a good one. Just are there some that you kind of already earmarked for ones that we could be using in the future?
Sure. My quick answer is all of them. One thing about adult ed,
Well, there
and
you go.
I'll kind of speak freely about it, is just that when we're talking about expansion, especially with the facilities, if you as the, culinary arts teacher or you as the construction teacher are willing to teach adult ed, then we'll roll out a class to it, for it. So we're in conversations that have been since the spring about enticing those teachers to consider doing adult ed, which would have to be, after school's already out and, the changing of the school times and things of that nature kind of had a lot of variables this year. So we're hoping that some will be willing to allow those adults to come in and, stay a little bit later and teach those classes to them. But like I said, the facilities everywhere are awesome, and we'd like to, do it anywhere and everywhere we can do it. As long as the teacher wants to do it, we're willing to open it up.
Next speaker, Trustee Mejia.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the report. That was pretty awesome. And yes, and I've worked with Jorge for many years, so I know the spirit that he was calling in upon us here. So I was just I want to say great report, and I do wanted to just emphasize the opportunity. I'd love to see the amount of students, but I think we're still like lots of potential there, and potentially also maybe looking at the possibility. I know in our region there's 20 to 30,000 folks that are residents and that qualify to become citizens, and so I just put it out there as a very positive thing that there is lots of room for us to really take the lead as a district to do that, and maybe partner with some organizations like Civic down in Fresno. They might be willing to come and work with us over here to do not just teach them to the English, but also maybe do workshops with and applying for the actual process. So I'm just super excited and super blessed that we have this with us. And I know there's a lot more growth, and just knowing the community and knowing that there's a hunger for some of this, especially like I said, having the right folks leading. I think it's very important. So I'm really excited, and I want to congratulate you for your work and for all this thing that you're doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Trustee Marks?
Yes, thank you. This is awesome to see all that you've done in such a short amount of time. I'm impressed, and I'm looking forward to where we're going. And wow, I've always thought this would be great if we could do the English as a second language in our school district and just see it explode as a great thing in our area. So I had a question for you. I wanted to know, where are these programs housed or located? The welding, the nursing assistant one, the home health aide, the driver's training, forklift, those, I just didn't know. I didn't believe they were all out at Elliott and Pearson, but maybe.
Sure. So our home base is Pearson. So our CNA classes are housed there. Our welding, we're out off of Carpenter out there with the county program out there. With What other program did you ask about? Our ESLs are at various different sites. When we did the bus driver training program, we housed it over at the CIPD office, which is also where our citizenship is, and our HiSET Spanish is there as well.
Is that on
Forklift,
Reno? Is that on Reno?
yeah, that's on
Okay,
Reno.
all right.
And we just kind of used the office there for that. And then when we did the forklift training, we collaborated with SCO and used the Volt area over there for that last year. So anywhere we can find a space to collaborate with, we'll jump in and figure out how to utilize it for our benefit.
That's awesome. So and I know you were trying to find a place to have the ESL in one location. Is that what your goal was? Or is that what the?
Yes and no. I think our Modesto is so vast that, you know, if we were, let's say, just for instance, we housed all of our classes here at Pearson, well, we're talking about over in the Johansson area or over in Tuolumne area, it's not an easy place to get to. So I think it's a great advantage for us to have 30+ schools in our district and be able to house classes there. But when we talk about, you know, CTE and things like that, obviously we have specialty locations for those specific programs. So we need to house those there. But it'd be good to know that, you know, people in the community know that at Pearson or at, you know, in location X is adult ed. And anything that they ever need, they can go there. And if they're willing to, you know, travel, they can always take a class there at any time. So that's a lofty goal, but at some point I hope we get there.
Okay, that's really good. I just want to also thank Trustee Irvin for recruiting Jorge Perez to our district. So in watching him move through the places that he has been and the places he will go, as Dr. Seuss said, he's a unique individual, and
Absolutely.
we are very blessed to have him and you here. So thank you so much for your hard work on this program, and the fruit of it is showing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Lopez.
Thank you, Anthony, for this great report. We talk about equity. Man, you mentioned something that is a game changer and is a playing field leveler, which is the GED equivalent testing in Spanish. A lot of individuals in our community, for many factors that many times are not because of, you know, they're have to migrate to this country for a better life, to provide for their family, but they're highly educated, highly hardworking individuals that, you know, we're accountants. I know of several cases of accountants, teachers, lawyers that come to the States and have to, support their family. So they work in jobs that don't meet their qualifications back at home. Because of the necessity. So helping out and leveling out that playing field, that they can at least start with their GED coursework, just show their education through in their own language, and and then have the support of learning English. That's amazing. That's just super, and I want to thank you and Jorge as well, and all your team for their work. I echo that vision to have somewhere where people know that that's adult ed, because Vice President Irvin mentioned about solar, something that maybe doesn't have to come through. I mean, we wanted to also have that for our high schools, but envisioning a program for solar that it's from adult ed, and it's coming from adult ed, and it's also coming from the high schools, right? So that's a program that we can say, hey, we talk about we're investing into solar, we're investing into the workforce of solar energy as well. So thank you for the report.
Thank you. And that opportunity for that HiSET for Spanish was a collaboration with CIPD and the EL department. It wouldn't be possible if we weren't working together to make that one happen.
Great. Trustee Daly.
I have a couple of new board member questions. One, do the community members pay for these services? And then the second one is a little bit broader. Not everybody's on social media, so what are the other options for outreach and advertisement?
The cost, most of our classes have no cost. So when we're talking about ESL, we're talking about GED, HiSET, things like that. That's at no cost. Actuality for HiSET, we also cover the fact that they can take the test. We pay for that as well. So they get a couple opportunities, a couple bites of the apple to pass it, which a lot of programs don't. You they cover the instruction, but they have to pay for the test. So we take that under consideration. Our CNA class does have a fee that goes along with it. We also work in collaboration with community services here in the district, community services agency, who sponsors some students to go through that program. So it's at a nominal cost depending compared to how much they benefit from it. Welding has some materials that they can get, and sometimes when our students can't handle that cost, we take care of that as well if it's as needed. But all the classroom stuff is all covered by us for the most part in that respect. Outreach, yes, social media, yes, our district website. They can always call and ask questions at the site. We've also had a campaign going on at the local DMV, so you'll see up at the monitors there, if you're there, that we're advertising for our programs there. We can change that as no matter what's going on, we can update that. I think what's been most beneficial is just getting the flyers out to the kids, having them take it home, or building something at the site where they can do outreach in their general vicinity around the school, knowing that the class is going to be at Bret Harte or at Hanshaw. So we're looking at so many square miles around there, and then that usually handles it kind of the old school way. So we're definitely using a little bit of the technology, but we're also using kind of the old school methods that are beneficial. And then Jorge starts making phone calls, really, you know what I mean? And then the word of mouth is most effective as well. Once you get one student in there and they benefit from it, they usually pass it along. And we've had times where students have come in to do the diploma class and they bring somebody with them, and then they end up signing up even though they were just the ride at first. And then one last story, I won't hold you guys too long, was we had a story of a student that came in. Someone came home and gave him a flyer, and it was his 7-year-old sister. And he was, 23-year-old student who hadn't got his high school diploma. And his sister came home and said, "You need to go to this." So then he ended up showing up, told the story to Jorge, and he's the one that actually had a driver that came with him. So from the little sister at the school who was, not even getting her, high school diploma, she's already kind of passing that torch on to those that need it. So each one teach one type of method too.
Vice President Irvin.
One last thing, have we thought about, now that they dropped the age of to 18 for tractor trailer drivers, for truck drivers, of like creating some referral or resource to channel, that can hit both sides, on the CTE and on the adult ed side, in terms of driving tractor trailers, which are in desperate need as well, but they dropped that age.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we're part of a consortium that all kind of got funding together as a group, and then funds are kind of distributed between Stanislaus Mother Lode region. So with that, we try not to over-duplicate certain services, especially the more expensive ones for CTE, and just have that kind of that warm handoff for students that are interested. So Patterson has a pretty elaborate truck driving program. So as we get people who are interested from our area, I know that's a trek for them to get out there, but we try to refer them out that way. And, hopefully once we get to the point of getting our CTE programs up and running, that'll be reciprocated back our way as well.
So are we utilizing also, what you know about is Project Yes?
Yeah, we haven't. I won't say that we've totally exhausted that resource there with Project Yes, but, we do have connections there as well.
Thank you.
Well, excited to be able to make a few comments myself. And this presentation for me is almost as exciting as passing the bond, because I can see some great things that are coming to fruition that will really drive education for our entire community. What we find is that when the parents are excited about education and have opportunities themselves, they're going to be encouraging their kids. They're going to be looking at what they're doing and able to just really get involved and supportive. And, we can't thank you enough for taking this to the neighborhoods. It's so important when we're dealing with people that don't have adequate transportation or daycare, that they have us come to them. And the numbers, I couldn't help but applauding when you talked about Bret Harte advertising for 40 and having to provide a class for 80. that tells us that the neighborhoods want and need this. And love to see this approach where we can take CTE to the adults who need it as well. And, we just got back from the CSBA conference, and some of the best exhibits that we see in the exhibit hall come from the trades. We saw that there's an apprenticeship program in HVAC, a 5-year program that the trades are willing to bring to the districts. And, that's another program that will provide training for high-paying jobs with great demand. All of the construction trades are represented there, and we need to work together with you with finding those connections with the trade so that we can bring those opportunities. We applaud what you're doing. We can't wait to see the explosive growth in future years, and just so grateful that we're bringing this to the families. Like I said, the best way that we can promote math learning and English learning to our own students is through their parents and creating opportunities for them to excel. So I'd like to see us teach more math in our adult ed programs and more opportunities for reading development, even just a course in reading to our adult families. And one question for you, childcare.
Yeah.
Is that something that is able to be provided for parents who need it in signing up for these courses?
Yeah, yes, it is. I won't say that every class that we have has childcare available for it, but I know like our class at Franklin, we've collaborated with them to have a classroom for our students, as well as ACEs happening after school. That class is right after school, 3:30 to 5:30, so that kind of makes it easy for our child age students, and then we have another room there for younger age kids. But that's definitely an area of growth, is to be consistently able to have childcare available for our families.
Thank you. Well, we applaud this great presentation and the progress that we're making in providing opportunities for the adults in our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to what is now B4 on the agenda. An approval of the first interim financial report for 2022-23 and positive financial certification. So, Mr. Zerly, we're anxious for this exciting report.
Well, thank you, President Brown. Good evening, trustees. And we're anxious to share the good news in this financial report with you tonight. This is our first interim financial update, or to put it, it's changes to our budget since the June budget adoption. So the last time you've officially seen the budget, you approved in June. Now we've made some changes since then, and those numbers are reflected here tonight based on those assumptions that you see there on the slide. I couldn't do this presentation without the hard work and dedication of Michelle Price and Kim Kamstra. To quote Mr. Little from the last presentation, we have the right people on the bus, and not only are they right on the bus, they're in the right seats. Without their work, this presentation would not be possible here tonight. Attached to the agenda is a 138-page report with nearly $900 million of expenditures across all funds to account for. Let me say that again, $900 million. I might as well just say $1 billion because we're that close across all of our funds. Also in the report is, included in the report is SAC's financial reports. SAC stands for Standardized Account Code Structure. It's one of those alphabet soup acronyms. And really what that means is every district in the state of California is standardized to the same account code structure. So no matter what district you look at, it'll have the same reports in it that we have. And the interim financial reports have 6 columns, and the dollars that we're presenting tonight in those reports can be found in the column projected year totals, which is column D on the SAC's reports. Our budget aligns with strategic goal 4, ensuring the district is fiscally and operationally sound. And to accomplish this goal, our budget represents estimates for both revenues and expenditures levels as authorized by the Board of Trustees. We do rely on projections, so our budget is constantly changing throughout the year and needs to be revised periodically. Although we maintain many funds, the first interim report focuses strictly on Fund 1, which is our district's operating budget. Our operating budget includes estimates for both unrestricted and restricted funds. Unrestricted funds are discretionary and may be used for any educational purpose that are not prohibited by law. Supplemental and concentration funds are also unrestricted, but they must be used to increase services to students, as outlined in the Local Control Accountability Plan, or the OCAP. Restricted funds must be spent for specific purposes. We're seeing an increase, and you'll see that later on in slides. We're seeing an increase of more restricted funds. We're going back to, for those of you that have been around for a while, know the categorical programs we had years ago. We're going back to that. Restricted funds are increasing, and they must be spent for specific purposes as identified by the donor, either federal or state government. And here are some examples of restricted funds included in our budget: COVID funds, both federal and state, the Every Student Succeeds Act, special education or IDEA, other state-funded programs, and also some local funds. Those are all classified as restricted funds once they become property of the district. The main source of funding in our local control funding formula comes from average daily attendance for our students. The enacted 22-23 State Budget Act included COVID-19 ADA relief. For this year, we are now able to utilize 2019-20, which was pre-COVID attendance yield percentages, to mitigate the decline in student attendance rates for 21-22. And we're also able to utilize a 3-year average funded ADA. If you recall, last year, we were hit pretty hard for pandemic-related absences, and we're not now, based on the enacted state budget, we're not held to that. They let us go back to 1920, which is pre-pandemic, and use our enrollment to ADA percentages, which is typically around 95, 96% level. We saw that drop below the 80s and sometimes during last year, so this is a great benefit to us. And we did not know this at the time of our June budget adoption. In addition, we've seen an increase in student enrollment this year. That was not included in our June budget adoption. We didn't expect that. We had no reason to expect that. And combined, we're now, absolutely, and now we're including an increase of 411 elementary ADA and 472 high school ADA to our revenue estimates. And we're continuing to project flat enrollment in the 2 subsequent years of our multi-year projection. Well, last year, 21-22, in many ways represented a return to normal. This slide is a graphic illustration of what was the anticipated ADA funding cliff for this year. I looked back at my presentation from a year ago, and we did talk about the funding cliff for 22-23, and if funded by our actual ADA. Thankfully, as I mentioned in the previous slide, the enacted state budget took away this cliff. So you see, we were talking about the funding cliff. You see the dip there on the bottom line. That would have been our actual ADA that we'd been funded at. However, we're funded now. We're not penalized for the COVID-related absences last year, student absences, and we're back to the 1920 levels, and that's represented by the bar along the top of this graph. It's even greater for our high school. You can see what we were anticipating, what we built our budget on as far as revenue goes, and where it's actually going to end up now with the relief that was included in the enacted state budget. Here's just a simple pie chart of our total general fund revenue. and shows an increase to federal and state revenue percentage, which is due to rebudgeting of unspent COVID response funding, but also there's a noticeable swing back, as I mentioned earlier, by the state of California towards more categorical or grant-based funding. One of the things you'll hear us talk about is the ELOT program. That's a state categorical program that is given to us with restrictions. And our June budgeted option, just for comparison purposes, for this year, the LCFF revenue was 81% of our revenue pie chart. Federal revenue was 7% and state revenue was 11%. So you can see how that's changed just in a matter of 5 short months from the time we adopted our budget in June. Revenue assumptions for the multi-year projection was based upon the California economy in July, and I'll talk more about that in an upcoming slide. The 23-24 COLA, at that point in time, next year's COLA was estimated to be 5.38%, and the 24-25 COLA is estimated to be 4.02%. Those numbers have changed a little bit now, and we'll talk about that. But these are the assumptions we use when we talk about our multi-year projection. These were at that point in time when we adopted our budget, what the COLA projections were for the out years. This slide shows the funding generated by grade span, which is how we're funded per student for the LCFF calculation. Our elementary district receives a significant amount of supplemental and concentration grant funding due to the high percentage of unduplicated pupils. Unduplicated pupils are foster youth, English learners, and free reduced meal eligible students. For the elementary district, it's just shy of 88% or 87.61%. And then there's some add-ons down below for old categorical programs, TIG, and also transportation add-on. We like to note this whenever we present this. Those two add-ons were based on the 12-13 funded levels when the local control funding formula went into effect, and they have not been increased at all since then for any COLA. These don't get increased by COLA, unlike the other programs that we have. Same chart for our high school. We do have a significantly lower unduplicated pupil percentage for our high school district. Because we are legally 2 districts, we have to do 2 separate calculations. And so you can see that our high school grade students are just shy of 68% unduplicated pupil percentage, or 67.66%, which gives us a little less supplemental concentration grant funding than the elementary district students. Revenue items included now in the first interim that were not included in the June budget adoption. You can see are listed here. The biggest one is $92 million of deferred and prior year revenue. What that means is when we're given dollars by the state or federal government for certain grants and we don't spend it, we have to defer that revenue in the prior year and then repost it in the current year. We don't know those amounts until we close our books for the prior year. That has been done, and so now we're rebudgeting the dollars that we didn't spend, we received last year but didn't spend. We call that either deferred revenue or prior year revenue. And then you can see the other adjustments that have been made for the programs listed here on the slide. Just like the revenue pie chart, this pie looks different from prior years due to COVID expenditures, which is currently budgeted in this slide in other services or our services. Back in June, when we adopted our budget, we estimated services to be 10% of our budget. At June, now it's 29%. Many of this are dollars related to COVID relief that we're providing a service to, or we're projecting to provide a service to. And so that's why there's an increase there. Typically, in non-COVID years or non-COVID funded years, you won't see services at about a 30% level of our expenditures, as noted on this particular slide. In addition, you can see other areas noted here that were not part of June budget adoption. We did not have our contract negotiations settled at that time. We do now. So the settlements for all bargaining units have been approved and are included in our first interim budget report. School site staffing and allocation adjustments due to first month student enrollment counts. We had more students in many cases at some of our school sites, so we had to adjust our staffing formulas. Those are now accounted for in our budget. And again, we have some carryover balances and budgeting on the expenditure side of those deferred revenues that I talked about earlier. Anytime we have a revenue increase in our restricted funds, we have to have a corresponding expenditure increase in order to have expenditures match our revenues. And then at this point in time, we typically have this in December at first interim, our one-time approved expenditures for this year. Overall, it's an increase of approximately $37 million of expenditures since our June budget adoption for these areas. The one-time expenditures are $22 million, roughly, of that $37 million. And $18 million of that is for one-time payment to employees as part of the negotiated contract settlements. So you can see there's big swings between June and now because there's been a lot of activity that we didn't have completed at that point in time. Also included in our multi-projection summary is step and column costs of 1.5%. We estimate this and we build it out in future years. We do remove those one-time expenditures I talked about, including the one-time payments for all bargaining unit employees. We don't want that to show up in future years if it is only truly a one-time expenditure. And then removal of any carryover and deferred expenditures as well. We must have the ability to accurately project the net ending balance, which is what this slide represents as for our unrestricted ending fund balance, and maintain our reserve for economic uncertainties. The impact of any of our decisions in the current year are included in our multi-year projection, which is the current year plus 2 years. Our multi-year projection continues to maintain a 6% board-approved designation for economic uncertainties, or that is twice as much as the 3% requirement for a district our size. You'll see that about a third of the way down. Economic uncertainties here on this slide is 6%. You see in the 21-22, that's the prior year, we have carryover obligations of just shy of 1.7 million. So what that means is we've allowed either the department or the school site to, maybe they didn't get a chance to spend some dollars they were allocated in the prior year. We captured those in our ending fund balance, and then we're rebudgeting those as expenditures for this year because now they're going to go forward with their approved expenditure plan. And then you also see 2/3 of the way down pending budget allocations in 24-25. We have $10 million allocated there. As you know, we have to maintain less than 10% reserve percentage. And so that's just an assumption we've made in 2 years out in order to stay below our 10%. There's a lot that can happen between now and 24-25, but that is a placeholder that's there to maintain less than 10%. Next steps is our January governor's budget proposal. That will have an impact on our assumptions for the multi-year projection. California's economy is slowing, as well as the national economy. And 23-24 is shaping up to be a much different funded year than the past 2 years. However, the anticipated COLA, or cost of living adjustment, for next year continues to grow due to the increase in inflation. And some estimates we've seen have it reaching as high as 10% for next year. However, it remains to be seen if the state of California can actually afford a 10% COLA. You know, we've had some years where we've come to you and said, well, we have an un-COLA, or we have a deficited COLA. So by statute, there's a calculation given to Proposition 98 how much we're entitled to of the state budget, but we have to know what is the affordability of the state of California. And as the economy turns, the state of California may or may not be able to afford what the inflation COLA is estimated to be. We have second interim in March. The next time we'll bring to the board an update, and it will include information from the January governor's budget proposal and any changes to our out-year assumptions for revenue at that point in time. Just recently, the UCLA School of Economics released a report about the status of the economy, and 50% of 50%, it was split right down the middle, 50% are projecting a recession, and 50% of their economists say we will not have a recession in the state of California. So it's still unknown at this point in time. It remains to be seen. But also to be included in the second interim is a transitional kindergarten add-on for the local control funding formula. So more dollars will be added to our funding formula for an add-on now for transitional kindergarten. Before, we did not receive funding for transitional kindergarten, so that is a welcome addition. You'll see that at second interim. There's also a new funding for pupil transportation in the budget. We still, at this point, haven't seen details on that, so we can't estimate it and put it in the budget at this point in time, but you'll see that at second interim, as well as Proposition 28. We heard earlier talk about the arts and music education proposition. Again, we'll calculate that and get that included for the board in the second interim. Right now, based on the factors and assumptions included in this interim financial report, we do recommend the board approve the report with a positive financial certification, not only for the general fund or Fund 1, but for all funds of the district. Thank you, and I will welcome any questions you may have.
So before turning to the board for questions, I want to find out if there's any comments from the public specifically related to this report.
Thank you, Tim. That was a very good report. ALCAP, you guys singing a tune when it comes to ALCAP for us. The only concern that I have, being at several sites just in the last 4 months, the need for special ed where we have the restricted areas. I would like to see some of this money delegated for the teachers in the general ed setting, because we are not separating the behavioral part of our autism students to the academics in the general ed setting. So now we're having as young as kindergartners that are being suspended for acting out in class, but they're in the wrong setting because they don't have the proper aides, paras. We have general ed teachers that are complaining to community that they're overwhelmed because they have autism children with behavioral issues that they don't know what to do with other than suspend them. That's a problem. So I'd like to see some money to close that gap for our special ed children. Not their fault. They come to school with autism. They come to school with ADHD. They come to school with their delays and their disabilities, and they're getting placed into these GE settings. They too have fundings. Can we please spend it in the areas that is needed for them to keep them in their classrooms and not suspend it? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, comments from the board or questions? Trustee Marks. And then
So thank you very much. Thank you for this report, very thorough. I always like the charts and the graphs, they always help. I had a question on the services, and I noticed, in the report where it's combined, the combined fund balance on 141 of the document, that it went up $150 million. So I just wanted to understand better what those services were during COVID because we said services, although it says other operating services. So can you help me understand just a little bit more of what those services are?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of a broad area. The way this report reads is it kind of captures everything as what we call sub areas and captures it into one. And it could be anything, I mean, professional services could be anything from, it could be mental health services, it could be psychological services, it could be transportation services, it could be really anything that we're providing with the pandemic relief funds. I mean, I can go back and drill down and get you specifics for the board, but it's a kind of a broad capture of a large category of expenses.
Okay, so just maybe like the top three, because it was such a large amount, 150 million increase this year, so that's why that was a lot. So
And
that's
just to
why
be
I
clear,
just wanted to-
you were looking at the combined?
I was looking at the combined on page 141, the general fund combined of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance.
Okay.
And it went from last year, 50,731,830 to 200 million. So 32,997. So it just was, I mean, you know, when I see a number change that dramatically in 1 year, that's just, and then you mentioned it was 29% and you're expecting 10%. So I can see that 20% more is, you know, that's a significant change. I just was curious what the actual services were. So thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Mastis?
Did you get your question answered?
I did. He's gonna get it to
Oh,
us,
get to you
but
on-
like the top three. I don't
Okay.
need a itemized, here's how much we spent on this and this and this. I just was curious, do we spend 20 million on this and 10 million on that? Just, that's all. So
All right.
thank you.
On the ADA increase, utilized the 2019-20 enrollment ADA. That's what we used for this projection?
We're able to use the, we have an enrollment number and we have an average daily attendance number. We don't have 100% attendance. It's typically around, 95 or 96%.
Right.
Once you account for student absences. So what it allowed us to do is use that, that percentage from 1920, which we didn't have pandemic absences in 1920. And so we're able to use that percentage to apply to our enrollment factor in order to have a higher ADA for the prior year.
Okay,
If that makes sense.
that makes sense.
Okay.
All right, so then
And really, and what that does is that establishes now, that raises our base year in the 3-year average. And so it helps us twice.
Yeah, I get it now. Okay. Yep, thanks.
Vice President Irvin?
Yes, again, great report. Like the data. Love the numbers. I have a question in regards to parity. How we used to be, we never really got the funding for special ed, whether it came from the feds, state. Now that we have the funds, have we bridged that gap with special ed in terms of bringing parity to what's really needed versus what we always got in the past?
No. I mean, while the state of California has made some progress towards the funding mechanism for our students with disabilities, the federal government continues to lag behind in their financial responsibilities for our students with disabilities. So we're not, we still contribute. We still contribute a large amount of our district funds to account for the lack of funding from both the state and federal government level. But we have made increases. I do give the Newsom administration credit that they did increase the per pupil funding, but not to the levels that our expenditures are for those same students.
Okay, so that's a whole nother issue at those levels. So all we can keep doing is what you're doing right now is contribute what we have to be able to at least bring a level of a parity, to based on the funds that we have available.
Yeah, the program side does an amazing job of providing the services to the students. We provide the dollar access, but I would probably, my colleague, Mr. Herbst, would probably agree that there is substantial parity in the services provided to those students.
Correct, and the special education budget continues to go up, but the contribution as a result goes up to the point that Associate Superintendent Zierli is making.
Okay, and we're not relying on the one-time funding, are we?
No, not
okay.
for, not for special education pupils and services unless the services that are being provided are out of the COVID funds or the pandemic relief funds. No, this is ongoing. We assume that the services are going to be ongoing as long as we have that pupil, which means we're going to have to provide the funding as well.
Okay, thank you. Like I said, great report. Great report. Oh, that's Kim back there also.
Any other comments or questions from the board? So, Trustee Daly?
Sorry, again, thank you. I'm still learning the whole budget thing. That's a little overwhelming. However, I do have a question, kind of out of left field. Can the COVID money that is allocated for specific things be used for mental health? Because COVID,
Yes, absolutely. That was I believe that was a key piece of the funding, was to provide services, including mental health services, to our families and students as a result of what they've had to go through for the last 2 years. So yes, that is appropriate.
Oh, I see you too, Michelle. I had to adjust my thing.
They like to
Alrighty.
stay in the back.
Well, thank you for this great report. And I said in jest exciting, but there are very exciting pieces to this with the increased funding that we're receiving for so many good things that we need to offer. And it is exciting to see that we do have a positive financial certification. So that's always good to see.
Yeah, and just for Trustee Marks, I'll get you the information, but just on a quick look, I mean, 135 million of that increase was on the restricted side. So it was some dollars we were given, and we're assuming we're going to spend it on according to however it was given to us. But I'll get you specifics on that.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yes, I saw that. I went back and looked up, because you asked, was it combined? I was like, yeah, and then oh yeah, I should have looked at the other one too, so it is restricted. So thank you, I appreciate that.
So we do need to take action on this measure. Do I have a motion for approval of the first interim financial report for 2022-23 and the positive financial certification? Motion by Trustee Mejia. I saw a second right behind it by Maestas. And those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. And no room for opposition. Thank you. And next item is a motion to close this meeting and say goodnight. Motion by Vice President Irvin and second by Trustee Mejia. Those in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Thank you.